Middlekauff.
Hey, babes.
Here we are, live on the tube on a Sunday night. For those of you who are joining us live, welcome. Hello. If you're listening to the podcast, wherever it is that you, however it is you, join us. Good to have you on board, too. Feel free to join in. You okay over there?
Yeah, what happened is I had our YouTube stream up, and then I had it turned up, and so an ad came on. I'm like, where's this? I couldn't hear you, and now it's okay. I got it.
All right, here we are. That was a interesting Sunday afternoon slate. 3 games. All of them were like 13-6 at one point, but we had a morning Niner game. You and I just watched the Laker fight on Twitter, so I know you're in a good mood. So there's a lot to get to today.
Will the Lakers lose that game?
I think that game is still going on, isn't it?
It's a good question. I mean, any time the Lakers lose, I am very, very excited. I don't know if you saw my my Twitter post yesterday. The Lakers were in Walnut Creek. Did you see them playing around?
I did. They were working on some 3 in, 2 out, I think it looked like. Maybe working on their zone defense.
As we're recording this, there's 3 minutes left in the third quarter. The Lakers are down 15 points to the Pistons on the road. LeBron got ejected. They stink.
Ejected? Are they going to dare suspend him?
Yeah, he'll get suspended. You can't do that, can you?
No, I don't think you can do that.
No.
I don't think you can do that. All right, a lot to get to on the show today. Noah chimes in, says, been selling Tito's at the bar all day, boys. That's fantastic. Man, there's so much NFL. You want to start there, that we're sponsored by Tito's Handmade Vodka?
Yeah,
Might as well. We're sponsored by Tito's Handmade Vodka. Tito's, the #1 vodka in America. This is the good stuff, John.
Yes, it is. I might have had a couple Tito's earlier in the day, and they're fantastic. A couple Tito's and sodas, #1 vodka in America, greatest vodka in the history of vodka. I don't even think there's even a close second. And it all started with Tito's beverage, based in Texas, Austin, Texas, where the University of Texas is. They're on their pace for their worst season ever, but Tito's isn't. They're probably on pace for a great year because they always are the #1 vodka in America. Can't recommend it enough. Go out, get yourself one. Bevmo, Safeway, Albertsons, Nugget if you're in Davis, wherever you are. And especially this week, right? Thanksgiving, what we're thankful for. I'm definitely very thankful that Tito's and us had this partnership in the fall. It's been fantastic. We were very lucky, and I know many of you that resonates a lot with our listeners, and we're very glad to be partners with them, Guy.
Yeah, because it's first and foremost, it's quality. It's substance, It's
Tastes
just
great.
Substantial. It's fantastic stuff. 6 times distilled in copper pots, not columns. Is it more labor intensive? Yes. But so what? It's better. It's distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas. 40% alcohol by volume, namely 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly. We'll tell you more about the Tito's and what they're doing with us in a moment. But also we'll say, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7, not 8, not 9, 10 in a row. We have hit the ham lock of the week, John. 10 in a row at mybookie.ag, promo code ham, the #1.
I posted, Guy. We turned $300. We currently basically have 5 Gs. So we turned $300, $150 each, into $2,500. No big deal. It hasn't been easy. There's been some up and downs. Today we didn't have to hold the last couple of weeks we have not had to hold our breath.
No.
I think we got back to our roots. Today was a back to our roots play. A team that we think is pretty good against a team that's terrible. And that's what we signed up for. What that was today. Like, that's feet up. Like, this is a joke. Like, there wasn't a point in time, I swear to God, probably past a couple minutes into the second quarter where I stressed it all. And that's been back-to-back weeks with the Patriots and the Browns. We're living good right now, Guy. It shouldn't be this easy. And the other game that you were fired up on, too. You like Minnesota. I like the Colts. We would have hit on any of the games we put it on. We were all over them all. Minnesota would have been a little tight, I guess, once they picked them off. But the Colts game, they were a 7.5-point underdog, the Colts.
Yeah.
That was an ass
you loved that game. Did we like the Texans? I can't remember. Didn't we kind of like the Texans? Or no? I think we changed our mind. We talked about it, but
I'll be honest, though. I watched the Colts-Jaguar game, I think, on Thursday, and we had already made the pick. Maybe it was on Friday, and I liked the game less. I was like, I don't really trust Wentz. Every time I looked up today, he had 5 touchdowns today. 5, Jonathan Taylor.
Incredible.
I can't even imagine what his DraftKings number was. Probably like 45 points.
Was that game on the road?
Yeah, they played in Buffalo. They beat the shit out of them.
Think about that.
Well, when I say the Colts, do you think playoff team?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. They're good. That loss has aged better for the Niners.
And Colts are 6-5 now. Now AFC's tough. Colts actually, Bills are 6-4. Colts 41-15. Bills every once in a while sneakily get blown out, but whatever.
Yeah.
So and that's not even counting the 4-team parlay that we had several weeks ago. So I have not looked yet at the early lines. I don't know if you have. This is a big week though, because what better way to get yourself into a Lions game on Thursday than at mybookie.ag promo code Ham and the number 1? Well, they'll double that deposit up to $1,000. Lions still playing on Thursday, John?
Lions Bears guy. That's not a great game. I think the Bears are now 3-7. The Lions are 0-something-1. So not good.
I would say there are two things that get the phrase a tradition unlike any other: the Masters and the Lions on Thanksgiving. Yeah. So remember, if you accept the bonus, you do have to bet the full amount before you can withdraw funds. You can also decline the bonus, but either way, Ham won. Let them know we sent you 10 in a row. I don't know if this has ever been done before.
Probably hasn't.
Probably has.
Do you know what some of these networks that are paying these people to just spew gibberish about gambling? I mean, they should talk some real gamblers right here. No big deal. Are those people even
available for
talking
interviews?
about it? I don't know. They're right. Fields is hurt too. That's it's Dalton versus Tim Boyle.
Oh my God.
I think Campbell's given up on old Jared.
I mean, he gave us some hints a while ago, right?
Yeah, he did.
Okay, and one other thing to share with you. If you're watching the stream, you may already have noticed it. If you're listening to the podcast, the link is in the description there. The link is in the let me just double check. The link is in the YouTube stream. But we're very excited about this, John. We've got a fundraiser to benefit No Kid Hungry from now through the end of the year. And why don't you want to tell some people? You want to tell everybody a little bit about it?
Yeah. So we wanted to do something during the holiday season, and we paired up with the charity No Kid Hungry. The Currys are part of it locally. Hunter Pence is a big part of it. Just to name a few people, obviously a lot of other people. It's a worldwide charity. But we're gonna donate $10,000 from the podcast. Tito's has already put in $5,000, and Puesto has put in $2,000. So we're at $17,000, and our goal is to get to $25,000 for our people listening, for our people watching. Whatever you can donate, it's tax deductible, and the link is nokidhungry.org/ham, and all the links, like you said. Podcast, the YouTubes. We're going to put it, I already put it in my Instagram profile. So if you can click on donate, and hopefully this is something we do, moving forward during the holiday season, and we say partnering up with these guys. And, I can't relate. I was lucky I've never been, gone hungry. Look at me. But when I'm young, I can't even imagine. So this is something that, we're pretty, I guess fired up would probably be the wrong way to put it, but excited to make it, try to help out any way we can.
I would say it's Thanksgiving week, but I would say we are thankful that not only do we have some good partners that have stepped up, like Tito's, as you mentioned, in Puesto, but also that, we've been doing this podcast for a while now, and that the people, all of you that watch and listen it, have supported it, whether directly, if you bought something we advertised, or just by listening to it, and those listens create money for the podcast, or by watching, and that creates money. And so that has put the podcast, this Haberman and Middlekauff show, in a position then to turn around and say, you guys have supported us, let's support something else, and maybe we can do that together. So yeah, I mean, that's what we're definitely, I think, thankful for. Since the pandemic began, No Kid Hungry has provided over $100 million in grants to schools and community groups around the country. They have a great, easy to access feature on their website where any family can go find where the nearest free meals are to them. So part of what they do is school related, right? In communities that need meals at schools. Part of it is not. They help schools figure out ways. Yeah. Since March 2020, they have, in the state of California, received over $12.5 million in grants that have helped feed over 208 million kids and families. Since the pandemic began, over $100 million in grants to schools and communities across the country. So the money that we raise here is going to specifically California No Kid Hungry. So when you go to that link, nokidhungry.org/ham, that is specifically funds that'll be distributed in the state. But $100 million throughout the country since the beginning of the pandemic. So what's that, year and a half? That's pretty incredible.
When you see some of these statistics, they see 1 in 6 children in America are at risk of going hungry. Like, it just makes you honestly, it makes me uneasy just even thinking about it. And I know California's, I'm passionate about, obviously being from here, living here the majority of my life, and just knowing, like, the poverty rates, in COVID, it's gone up. It's been tough on a lot of people. So hopefully that we can help out any way we can. And we're already at $17,000, and I think the goal is to get to 25. And, we're going to need your guys' help, and everything is tax deductible. The nokidhungry.org/ham, links all over the place, podcast, YouTube, Instagram accounts, and anything you give can help. And this is kind of how you play a part in being part of the show,
Yep, absolutely. We ask you for a lot of things over the course. We advertise a lot of things over the course of this show, but I think this is probably the easiest thing we've ever asked you to do. So anything you can give, we appreciate it. $1 provides up to 10 meals, which means like $50 is up to 500 meals, which is a pretty efficient operation that No Kid Hungry is running. So again, nokidhungry.org/ham. The link is going to be everywhere. We're going to be beating you over the head with it. And it's thanks to Tito's. Right. Thanks to Devin Grigg at Tito's, who helped us, who secured $5,000 from Tito's, which is awesome. Thanks to the Adler brothers for donating $2,000 from Puesto, which is awesome. And thanks to you for supporting the show. And here's another opportunity to support a great cause. So
appreciate everybody.
There we go. All right. Share it. Definitely share it. And we'll be talking more about it. If anyone has any questions, hit us up. Okay. So with that said, John, don't forget to get in the mailbag, by the way, too. With that said, thank you. Michael's already in for $25. And one other thing I want to mention: when you go to the website, it's not like GoFundMe that has a constant counter. But No Kid Hungry, Emily at No Kid Hungry has told us she'll update us a couple times a week on how much money's getting raised. So we'll keep updating you guys, and hopefully somebody gives, it inspires somebody else to give, and boom, 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 boom.
Awesome.
All right.
Good people.
Thanks for your support. Okay. John, it's also easy to be in a good mood when you cover 6 points with 6.5, I think is what we had, with ease. The 49ers, some days it's a little easier than others watching them. And today was one of those easy days.
Today was, let's face it, kind of a joke. But that's why we bet on them, because we bet on this version of the Niners. Strangleholding, just kind of knocking out, being on a completely different level, and that they were. Now, it was clear they were way better talent-wise. And then I think whenever you play a team that's just willing to run the ball literally every play, and you're getting bludgeoned by the run, it can really, in a way, fuck you up mentally, because they became a very, very dumb team, the Jags, as the game went on, jumping off sides and personal fouls, swinging at guys. I thought the Niners were better, but they kind of broke them early. I think you had a tweet that, like, the inner Harbaugh, like, listen, I texted you. Yeah. There are way more similarities in Kyle and Jim Harbaugh than Jed will ever want to admit. Because let's face it, guy, they've used, I guess, the run scheme a little differently, but the importance of the run game, I would say they are on the same page. I would say that Kyle gets a hard-on for 19 to 20 play drives of basically running it every play. Same with Jim. Now, again, they like throwing touchdowns as much as the next guy, but if you could choose, you're like, hey, you're going to win either way. Do you want to have 75 rush attempts or 10? They would choose 75 every day. And I think Kyle has gotten back there the last 2 weeks, and they've kind of, it's actually, Debo's been a star. We'll dive into but he's gotten back to his roots. And obviously, this game coming up, I think it's played out perfectly. And we talked about it. We'll get into like rooting for who to lose. Minnesota won. This game's huge on Sunday. Now it's a late November playoff game, but I think he's got like his philosophical belief on how to win with this team, this 2021 team. I think he feels pretty good where he's at right now.
Yeah, and that first drive was 20 plays, which topped last week's first drive of 18 plays. This one resulted in a field goal, not a touchdown. It went 99 yards. Well, I mean, it went 77 yards. The math to me is still wild that you can go 77 yards and take 20 plays to go that short of amount of a distance. Like, how is there enough plays to go that many yards? And they needed a lot to happen. I mean, that drive, just
a lot of 3-yard runs in first downs, right? So they're getting first downs every 3 plays, but there are like 2 and 3 yard runs in those those plays,
and some bailout penalties.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, he held him on the one kill. It was a hold.
Yeah, okay. It just bailed. They got a penalty. It felt like they had things going their way. Is probably the best way. I don't mean to say they didn't deserve it, but
Jimmy took some sacks on that drive as well, if I remember correctly.
This is what I don't love. I love watching a 19-play drive get executed. I think there was a Jeff Wilson did he fumble the ball and recovered it himself? Just when you run that many plays, you leave room for a bunch of things to go sideways. I love what a 20. They almost took the whole first quarter.
They've done it 2 weeks in a row. They've done it 2 weeks in a row. Their game was at halftime before every other game in the league. You notice that? And there's not a staggered start at 10 a.m. They all kick off at 11:04. 10:04, right?
Right.
I looked up, and they were 5 minutes into halftime. Other games were still like at the 2-minute warning. They were way ahead of every game because they didn't have any stoppages in the first quarter, which I'm all here for. I'm cool with it.
I'm cool with it too. I'm just saying you're right. This is who they are. That being who they are is that there is an inherent flaw in that, especially if you fall behind. But then they actually got some other things going, and it worked. Did you feel like when they had to kick the field goal on that first drive, because it looked for a minute like they were going to go for it? What did you think of them kicking the field goal?
I tweeted out a cat emoji. Like it was a pussy move by Kyle. Like now it worked out, and I was in the car, between over the last couple hours, and I guess right after the game, and KNBR had Kyle's press conference going. He said, because they were kind of calling him out, like, why didn't you go for it there? He's like, listen, I would have if it was a yard. I looked down, it was closer to 2, and as the game played out, you realize the opponent. To me, there's a balance of being an aggressive coach. I always believe to lean that way. Now, big picture in the game, playing the Jags, like, are you going to get extra credit points for being super aggressive or being conservative like he was? It worked out fine, right? I don't think you can play like that, for example, this week, an offense that can score. You're playing Trevor Lawrence in an offense that can't score. You play Dalvin Cook, you play Justin Jefferson, you play Adam Thielen. I will not support doing that. I didn't make that big of a deal with it, besides like making fun of him, calling him a wuss. But like, I don't think that is the tack that he can take with the better teams that can score points. You agree there?
Yeah, I think
it's very opponent dependent.
I think we saw him being really aggressive in like some fourth down situations against the Rams. I also think because you could make even I was good with the field goal. I don't think he was being a pussy by kicking the field goal. But you could make the counter argument: if the Jags offense sucks, go for it there. What's the worst thing that happens? You fail, and they've got the ball on their own 2-yard line. But I understand when you put a 20-play drive together, you want to walk away with points.
Yeah, at the end of the day, when you're playing a team like the Jags, it's kind of irrelevant whether he kicks a field goal or goes for it. My point is just when you're playing Minnesota, now you play the Bengals, now you play the Titans, like you just play these better teams where, you're fighting for the wild card spot against just better offenses. You play the Rams again. Like I think he would probably lean going for it. I do think opponent dependent. He sees a team that had scored 9 points, and how many points the Jags scored the previous week? 17. Like they had scored, 25 points basically the last 2 weeks. You weren't playing some explosive team that's going to get to 30 very easy. And I know they hadn't touched the ball yet.
Yeah, I mean, the counter, though, would be like Minnesota plays in a ton of close games that come down to field goals. We see it all the time.
Yeah, but my point, they score points, though.
I understand. I get it. I understand.
Jags do not score points.
I understand. I get it. But I also understand a 20-play drive needing to end in points. I actually find myself a lot of times when teams end up in short yardage kicking on fourth down, hating their third down plays. Jimmy Jeff Wilson had a wide open touchdown, and Jimmy just missed him.
I have less of a beef with it, 8 minutes into the game than I do in the third quarter. When there's less possessions left, there's the entire game's left. That's where I don't make that big a deal over it. Like I tweeted the cat emoji again. Like I didn't really care. Like I wasn't worried they were going to win or lose the game. Like I had full faith they were going to win. To me, when coaches do that, like it's 20-20 and you could kick a field goal or go for it in the late third quarter, right? When there's only 2 possessions each left or whatever in the game.
Yeah.
It's the first possession of the game. Like I don't think I wasn't going to make that big a deal with it.
I thought that play, the play before the Jeff Wilson drop, and we saw it a lot. I thought today we see it all the time, but Shanahan, did you see the formation on that play? It was Kittle lined up at fullback, Debo lined up at running back, Jeff Wilson Jr. lined up basically at tight end, like attached to the left tackle, to the left of the formation, obviously. Kyle's just throwing a lot. And you could feel there was a little bit of a difference. Debo, what was Debo's final number? 8 yards a carry or something like that?
9.9.
9.9. Because his first carry, I'm like, you're not catching the defense by surprise with that Debo thing this week. Going to be a little tougher. And then it wasn't. It worked again. It just works.
Well, when I was in the car, they asked Kyle in the press conference, like, do you feel comfortable utilizing Debo that much as a running back? He's like, well, when he's going to be that effective, what am I supposed to not go back to the well? Like he's like, well, a lot of times when you see a guy like Debo as a wide receiver have an 80-yard game on the ground, he made a good point. He's like, typically you probably get one play for 65 yards, right? And maybe you give him a couple other carries, but it's really just the one play accounts for 90% of it. That was not the case. Like he was just banging off runs. He's a very natural, and in fairness, if they were using him when they had Elijah Mitchell, like they were in somewhat of a pinch, right? They're starting running back who's really good, has a broken finger, and they inactivated him before the game, right? Which I don't blame them.
He feels like a Heisman candidate, is what I tweeted today. Like that's how, you know what it is? It's what the Jags wanted Laviska Shenault to be. And the Jags just aren't good enough to make it work.
And Debo's probably a better player than Laviska.
And Debo probably is a better player, but
no, he is a better player, probably.
Okay, it's whatever. But it's what a lot of coaches, it's what a lot of teams hope to find. And I mean they got it. It's wild. And he's been, knock on wood, he's been consistently available for them now for several weeks. We can get to more of him later, but it was just a total. That's what you do to the Jaguars. Nobody steamrolls after a defensive takeaway like Kyle Shanahan's 49ers. I don't think.
Well, but you know what's crazy, guy, is before Monday Night Football against the Rams, they weren't getting those fumbles, right?
Right.
That wasn't happening. They weren't getting the picks. Even
they were losing the ball.
When you said Jeff Wilson, was it Jawan Jennings that fell on it? Like they were losing that football. Instead, now it's happening to them. It just shows you turnovers in general are pretty fickle, right? They go back and forth. Like sometimes you're just on the right end. Now, if your quarterback's going to throw 20, like he's throwing 20 picks. But I'm just saying, like, if you're just an average NFL team, I think picks sometimes go your way. Sometimes you don't get them. Sometimes the fumbles. The Niners were on the wrong end of them for several weeks, and now they've been on the right end. And clearly, the good part is, though, them on their comeback, is that they're not dependent on that. Like, they have really, really good players. So even if they're, like, they would sign up for a game. I think a lot of coaches would be like, hey, there are going to be 4 turnovers in the game, but you don't know where they're coming. They'd be like, I'll sign up for that. Take our chances. The Niners would be fine with just being neutral. Like, 0 turnovers either side, right? Let our blue chippers and our elite guys just out-elite you. They don't want to take that risk because there's just the oblong spheroid or whatever the thing's called bounces weird ways.
That's exactly it, yeah.
And Jimmy, I guess Jimmy didn't really even get close to throwing a pick today. Now he had some bad misses. That Jeff Wilson ball, again, doesn't come back to bite him, but you just throw the lobber. Why'd he throw a rope there?
I felt like after the replay, I need to watch again. Was somebody in his face? It didn't feel like anybody was.
Sometimes you look and you don't realize he's as open. Like maybe you think there's a guy because he let him. Like, bro, there's not a guy in a 10-yard radius of him.
Part of it is you're throwing the ball to Jeff Wilson, right? And you're not throwing the ball to, like, does George Kittle catch that exact same pass?
Maybe. I mean, it was way in
I
front
know.
of him. He like
No, I know.
It was a terrible throw.
I'm just saying you're putting your running back in that position, but no, it was a bad throw. It was
Jeff
definitely.
Wilson's a pretty solid player.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, 2 lost fumbles for the Jags, no lost fumbles for the Niners. Like I said, it does feel like, and I've always felt this way going back several years, that a turnover, like this team, as much as any other team that I've watched in the last few years, turns a takeaway into like a 17-point lead.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because of just the way when they can run the football, it's just getting behind on them. Unlike the Lions game, there was no life from the Jags. Did Trevor Lawrence, I mean, how many plays were there where you felt like, oh, I'd love to rewind and watch that Jags offensive play again?
They look pretty terrible. They look awful. I when I watched the Colts game, I thought they looked better against the Colts. Just their offensive rhythm, he looked better. He was 16 of 25 today for 160 yards. And just like, meh.
Honestly felt worse.
Yeah, it looked way worse. I mean, they only ran for 50.
Not even blaming him. They're just unwatchable.
Yeah, it's not his fault. Because the Niners would take him in a heartbeat. Like, if you told Kyle Shanahan tomorrow you can trade Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo straight up for Trevor Lawrence, they wouldn't hesitate. Because you could see, like, there were a couple plays, like, he's a good athlete. He's big. That team sucks. You know, but again, that's why we bet on them. It's why we talked about this week. You just take care of business. Now, you didn't need to have a 20-point win, right? You're on the road, early kickoff. But to me, that was just, we're kicking your ass. And honestly, we had to kick field goals a couple times. It could have been 40-10, which is what a good team does against, I mean, what are the Jags? Drafting the top 5? That's what they feel like to me.
John, no, they feel like they should be drafting number 1. If anybody else, I mean, them or the Lions is not drafting number 1.
Texans have had their moments.
Texans have felt so much better than either one of those teams.
So
Texans beat the Titans today.
Right now, the Jags would be drafting 3rd. Don't forget about the Jets. The Jets
feel much better to me than the Jags do. But you're right, they have the same record, 2-8.
The Dolphins somehow are 4-7.
Yeah, I mean the Dolphins don't deserve.
Lions are in pretty good shape for that number 1 overall pick.
We'll see if that tie comes back into play.
I don't think it will because they gotta win 2 games, and the Jets might have one more win. They might cruise the number 1 pick with like a 3-game margin. Lions stink.
Should they get the 2nd pick? Is there a point at which you should get 2 picks in the top 2 if you're like 3 games worse than the next worst team?
Well, you could argue this year the draft is there aren't many Nick Bosa's walking through that. There's no Trent Williams walking through that door.
But somebody will be good. That's the thing, right?
Well, for sure. But you feel very good when there's like 7 elite prospects, right? Yeah. Is there Penei Sewell in this draft? You know, I mean, it doesn't feel like the draft is top heavy.
O-line tape on that.
Even Kayvon, you know, I mean, if you're gonna give up multiple ones like the Niners, this is the draft to do it.
Right. Well, what about the 2023 draft?
Well, that one could get better.
Okay. Do you want to talk about Jimmy in the context of this conversation?
Yeah, go. Let's do it.
Well, I mean, he was 16 of 22, 176, 2 touchdowns, no picks. And I think we established a while ago, there's not a reevaluation of Jimmy Garoppolo that happens every week. I think we have a pretty good idea of what he is. I know that we do, and I know what he looks like when he's going well, and I know what he looks like when he's playing poorly, and I think we've talked about it for a long time. When he's playing well, if other things happen around him, if guys are making plays, if the defense is making stops, then you're in pretty good shape. And that's where they are. I just, we like to do a, people tell you like, just check in on a friend for no reason. We like to check in on Jimmy and that Jimmy topic every week, just because he's the quarterback of the team.
Well, they talked about it a little bit today on the broadcast. Like they're going to need to depend on him more to do what they want to do, right? Whether that's, are we going to get in the playoff picture still later? This is a separate topic from that?
A separate topic, yeah.
But just the one thing they do have, like Jimmy against Simeon, Jalen Hurts, and Kirk Cousins, like that's the crew of teams he's competing against for the spot. But once you make the playoffs, you do like, okay, we're playing Kyler. Okay, we're playing Tom. Okay, even Stafford, who was shitty, like he's still Matt Stafford and can throw for 350 yards, right? Okay, those are the teams you're playing. So there is going to be gravy if they get the 7 seed. Kyle would get a lot of credit, right? If you went 10-7, how shitty it looked early. But no one's just going to be cool with you losing by 20 in that game. So for them to be good, he is not going to just be able to do the 16 for 20, 180 yards every game. We talked about this last week. I said, philosophically, that's what Kyle wants to do. And you can do that against some opponents. But there are some opponents where it's just not, you're going to need him to throw for 275 yards, right? And one thing that can't be argued, the good part is they have the weapons for him to throw to, right? Like, if you put Josh Allen or Mahomes or Herbert or Lamar, this is 300-yard ability with the guys surrounding him, correct? It's not like, well, he's playing with Haberman, Middlekauff, and Juwan Jennings. Like, that ain't the case. He's playing with guys that, so it's a balance. Like,
hey, Juwan Jennings plays his ass off.
No, he looks fine. He's already
tried to get him a touchdown today. Didn't get there.
Good job by the DB. He got out there pretty fast.
It was, yeah.
But I do think it's pretty clear, like, their skill guys are good enough if Jimmy plays well. One thing you saw today a little bit, though, that, like, his rhythm has really been off for the last couple of years. It felt like he used to get rid of the ball. Like, his release, once he throws the ball, he gets rid of it fast. It does feel sometimes when he's in the backfield, and again, Kyle could say those are bad plays. They were long developing. Sometimes he does hold on to the ball like a younger player does and take a sack that, at least from the TV sitting on our couch, looks pretty shitty, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I think,
like, Jimmy, the blitz is coming. It's not like a blitz, right? It's like a delayed blitz. The dude's coming from the secondary.
Right. It's got to get out.
To win the better games, as these games, I mean, starting this week, guy, I mean, it's, what Mike Zimmer does historically? Be known for blitzing. He's a blitzer.
I think there's a couple of things, though. I don't think it's, for all that we talk about Jimmy being able to throw the ball down the field. That's not who he is. So this team needs sustained drives. And what do you need on sustained drives? You need conversions, right? Third down conversions, and you need to not make mistakes. And I don't think it's an accident. And I think it's more about what Garoppolo doesn't do in games than what he does do in games. Like, I don't think he has to do anything extraordinary. Their team is solid enough. He doesn't have to do anything extraordinary. But he cannot make mistakes. And I don't want to oversimplify this, but the Niners, they played the Lions. They won the game. He didn't throw a pick. He didn't throw a pick against the Eagles. They won the game. He threw a pick against the Packers. They lost the game. He threw a pick against the Seahawks. They lost the game. He threw 2 picks to the Colts. They lost the game. He didn't throw one against the Bears. They won the game. He threw a pick against the Cardinals. They lost the game. He didn't throw one against the Rams. They won the game. He didn't throw one against the Jags. They won the game.
Their only good win, though, against a good team is the Rams. So it's like you just are going to have to throw the ball. I would say you're going to tend to have to throw the ball more against better teams.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
They're not always going to be up 10-0, 14-0, correct? Like, there's going to be a game, even if they end up winning, where they're probably down 10-0. Just the ebb and flow of a football season.
Yep.
And usually it just might, instead of, again, I'm not talking 40 attempts. There's just going to be a game where he has to attempt the ball 32 times. And you're right. He is one of those guys, the more time he attempts it, and the farther it gets pushed down the field, the more likely he is to throw an interception. And their margin for error, turnover-wise, I'm not disagreeing. I'm not rooting for him to throw it more. But for them to make the playoffs, he's going to have a couple games that probably are more than 22 attempts or 20 attempts or 18 attempts, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it happened a couple times the year they went to the Super Bowl when they were better, right?
He's been more accurate the last couple weeks. He's done a better job, I thought, of not airmailing the ball. Like even just the touchdown to Kittle, he has been very accurate. Like, I thought today was by far his most accurate day. Didn't you?
I felt pretty
hitting guys in hands, not like just on the slant route, hitting the guy in stride.
I thought his
was
first
excellent.
throw of the game after Trent Cannon lost the ball in the sun, a la Josh Hamilton, and they ran that fucking rainbow throw to Kittle. It was a really good throw.
Had a sweet pass to Ayuk that made a good pass, but everything's been accurate, I thought, today.
He had his back is like on the 4-yard line, defender bearing down. He's got to get it up over the top. It was a really good throw.
That was a good little lollipop by him for sure.
Okay. So you and I talked before the podcast about you were breaking up a little bit. People are saying your video is a little choppy on the stream.
Mine?
Yeah. You still look choppy to me. You look choppy to them. I look good to you. I don't know what the deal is, but maybe it's worth a quick
I got YouTube up. It looks clear as day right here for me.
I know it looks clear, but it's a little choppy because I've been watching it too. Or people in the chat can tell me, but I think it might be worth a restart over there.
You want me to restart?
Yeah, I think so. Does it, someone in the chat agree or disagree?
Yeah.
All right. So John's gone. John will be back. This will get edited out of the podcast. But while we're hanging out, let's look at some chats. Mr. Superfly says Jimmy is really on the same level as Jared Goff. I do not agree with that. I do think he's better than Jared because I think he's more mobile and he gets rid of the football faster. All right. John is back. Somebody else while you were gone said you were laggy. So let's see if this fixes the situation.
Yeah, its connection is unstable. If you're on Wi-Fi, try plugging it in. I'm not on the Wi-Fi.
I know it happens sometimes though.
But it says my connection. But it's like I'm on. But I can see.
I think it might be worth a computer restart.
Oh, you want me to do that?
Yeah, we're fine. We can edit this out of the podcast.
Okay, cool.
I'm hanging out with the chatters. See, we're good. Goff does get rattled. I agree with that. Use some of that $5K to upgrade the internet connection. Hardline. I actually just canceled. I had fiber. Listen to this bullshit. I had fiber, which was very stable, right? AT&T fiber. Got it installed. You can't get fiber everywhere. I was very fired up to get the fiber. Then I get my Xfinity internet. My Xfinity TV. I'm still a cable guy. And the cable is good for me because it's just the interface is so good. I can get the Pac-12 network. I can get all the channels that I want. I can constantly be streaming them on multiple devices. And it's just the interface is good. And I didn't feel like I was saving that much money at the end of the day when I, went to like a streaming service. And I do not want to be streaming primarily my television because I don't want to be late on a game. Like I want to be as up to speed as possible on the game. The problem is that there are some channels, like I think ABC is probably one of them. NBC Sports Bay Area might be one of them, where you can't stream in-house unless you're on your home Wi-Fi, and Xfinity only recognizes your home Wi-Fi when it's Xfinity Wi-Fi. So even though I had the fiber, I had to jump off of the fiber to go back to the Xfinity, and here we are. Bullshit. I mean, they really trap you in. I had a decision to make, and I made it. Matt, I will be at New Mexico on Friday for college football, Utah State at New Mexico on Friday morning, and then West Virginia at Kansas on Saturday night. Thank you for asking. Fired up about that. Football games. All right. John is back, and here you are. And Excalibur asked, have there been downgrades to the podcast? John, have there been cutbacks? John seems like he's downgraded to dial-up.
I'm plugged in.
All right. So hopefully that's good. That was a fast restart.
I didn't do the full shutdown. I just did a restart, but I had been noticing the little, like the internet sign that looks like a diamond, Major League Baseball field. Mm-hmm. It was up there the whole time, and I'd never seen that before. Now it's not up there. So maybe it was just sometimes you need to turn your computer off, blow in the power cord.
In the cartridge?
Yeah.
All right. Ben says, good to see Trey Sermon take advantage of his playing time. I did get a DM from somebody that said the only reason Kyle Shanahan played Trey Sermon is because Middlekauff wasn't available.
Well, yeah, I mean, if what's-his-name hadn't broken his finger, then Trey Sermon ain't getting a snap.
10 for 32.
Yeah. So. I mean, Jeff Wilson actually, averaged less a carry. Like, his day wasn't that successful. He was 50.
That's why I think this is part of my point I want to make about Utah later. Sometimes it's impressive when it's one thing when you just break off 6 yards of carry. Debo's carrying the ball makes the total yards per carry go over 4 yards of carry. If you take Debo out of it, I'd have to do the math. But Debo was 10 yards of carry, and they were 4.1 for the team. So, if you take Debo out, what do you think that number is? 3.2? 3.1 it might be, right? Because Jeff Wilson. But still they found a way to part of pounding I did think this early in the game is like they're running the ball against a good run defense, just partly because sometimes that's what you have to do in order to be able to do other things.
Well, it's like throwing body blows in boxing, right? Right. You're not knocking them out body blows, but you're just kind of wearing them down. And this gets back to what I was saying about Kyle. Like, he is I was watching Lincoln Riley against Iowa State. They ran the shit out of the ball. There are certain young coaches that are quote-unquote offensive gurus that love running the ball. And Kyle definitely is at near the top of that. Like, it's his dream. Now, the broadcasters mentioned, and maybe he's lying to him, But maybe just Kyle saw on film, like, it's going to be harder to run the ball when they asked him, like, do you think you're going to have 40-plus carries again today? And he's like, probably not. And they had mentioned that right when the game. He's like, they're probably not going to run it as much as they did the previous game. And they ended up, I think, they were 44 carries last week and 42 this week. I mean, that's 80-plus carries in 2 weeks. You could argue, like, listen, is that sustainable? Probably not, but that's what they had to do to right the ship. And that's what a good coach does, do whatever it takes to right the ship, and you just get the momentum. And they're just, they have very expensive blocking, Trent Williams, elite blocker, George Kittle, elite blocker, Kyle Juszczyk. Highest paid tight end, highest paid left tackle, highest paid fullback. All those guys play the run, right? Are huge parts of their run game. So ride those motherfuckers till the cows come home.
Yeah,
when you're in a pinch. And they
next week
at 3-5, you're in a pinch.
You're in a pinch. Now they're 5-5. But are you going to have to throw the ball? Rodgers threw the ball 33 times today for the Packers. Kirk Cousins threw it 35 times today for the Vikings.
But I think it's more just about, like, when I think the Minnesota Vikings, I do just think points. Like, they just score. So I'm just going to read you off the last 4 games. Okay, they lost to the Cowboys 4 weeks ago, 20-16. Since then, they lost to the Ravens 34-31. Yeah. They beat the Chargers 27-20, and then they just won today 34-31. So, like, they're much more likely to put up 25 points on the board. That's my point about just potentially having to be, like, early in the game, you got, a touchdown's more valuable than a field goal against that team. Just because they got 3 players. They have 3 players, if I told you next week account for 3 touchdowns, like if Thielen, Jefferson, or Dalvin Cook score 3 touchdowns individually, that is not crazy.
That might be my DraftKings team next week. I don't want to give anything away, but
luckily the Niners defense has played a lot better. But Justin Jefferson, it's just, I do think next week the game plan, maybe it's just simple as just keep running the ball against them, keep them off the field. That's, one of your best defenses can be just staying on offense, right?
Yeah.
Here's
the thing that the Vikings are tempting to throw the ball on too.
Well, their DBs stink.
Again.
I barely looked up once they took the lead. I'm like, oh, I wonder if Rodgers is going to lead them on a game-tying drive. First play hits the guy for 75 yards.
Did you know Valdez-Scantling was fast?
I just think 24. I think their DBs just aren't that fast. Their DBs are terrible.
Yeah,
terrible.
So can the Niners make a run? We talked the other day about the things that they need to happen for them, and a lot of things happen for them. It does feel like things have been going their way for the last few weeks in terms of, I hate to use this phrase, but the football gods. Like, things are just they're in pretty good shape right now at 5-5. Minnesota's the 6th seed at 5-5. New Orleans is the 7th seed at 5-5. Philly's behind them at 5-6. Carolina's behind them at 5-6.
I think the Saints play Thanksgiving too. I think they play the Ravens.
Saints play
or the Bills.
No, they host the Bills. Yeah, that's the late game on Thursday.
Well, if you root for the Bills, so you knock them out. It's technically not a playoff game because you could lose this game and still get in because some of these other teams are in shambles, right? Like if the Saints lose, they'd be 5-6 too. But you win this game, I would feel pretty good about their chances to get the 6 or 7 seed, right? This is a big fucking game Sunday night.
Huge.
This is what we kept talking about. You do not play the Saints. You do not play the Panthers. You've already played the Eagles and you beat them, but they're, they haven't had their bye week, but they're still, 5-6. You control your destiny. You win this game, you're in really, really good shape, guy. And you hit on this last week, and it's true. I don't care if they're 3-50. When you play Seattle at Seattle, if Russell's playing, that game will feel hard. I don't care what their record is. That game's going to feel very difficult. But you win this game at home, which is going to be hard. We've seen how hard it is for the Niners to win this game. You're in pretty good position to get to 9 wins with some tiebreakers. You probably get a playoff bid, But you got to win. Like, you lose this, now you take back all the momentum you just had.
Right.
Plus, it'll feel like, God, why can't you win at home?
Also, it's just a representation of, are you a good team? Are you a playoff team?
I would say this, though, start to finish, like week 1 to where we sit today, Minnesota has been way more consistent than the 49ers. When I watch them, for the most part, they play their game. They've lost a lot of them because of missed field goals, but they have been more consistent. Now, the Niner team we've seen the last 2 weeks, That's the Niner team I think we thought we were getting all season, but that hasn't. Now, if that's the team we're getting moving forward, we're in good shape.
Yeah.
But
I felt that way too, although admittedly I've watched the Niners closer than I've watched anybody else, right? I felt that way too, but it does at a certain point you lose 5 close games, you go, what are you not doing?
But
in these games?
but Minnesota, I think their 5 losses, I bet 4 of them felt pretty close. Right?
Well, absolutely.
They easily could have lost today, in the same fashion. He threw a fucking pick and the guy dropped it. Who do you think's better when I just say 49ers, November 21st? You feel confident?
I've trusted Minnesota more this year, but I do think the Niners might be better.
I agree. They should be better. But they do have...
Why? Why should they be better?
I think top to bottom, they have better players. And I don't think the difference at quarterback, even though 10 a.m. Kirk is a lot better than normal Kirk. Like, I like 10 a.m. Kirk a lot more than 125 at San Francisco Kirk. But start to finish, he's been much better in the Niners quarterback situation all season. And I think in this individual matchup, you would agree that Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen are very, very tough matchups for the 49ers DBs. Corners, specifically.
Extraordinarily difficult. I think they're difficult for them, and thus then they're difficult for the Niners, because the question is, what's more likely to happen? You having to play their game or them having to play your game?
Well, you don't want to get in a shootout, do you?
No, but even if let's say you have a 20-play drive to start the game on them and you score a touchdown. Well, great. They're going to get the ball and they might score in 6 plays. So now what do? Another 20-play drive? Those are hard to do.
I
know they've done 2 in 2 weeks, but they're hard to do. At some point, whether you're playing with the lead or playing from behind, they are just going to be firing rockets at you with their guys.
I'm glad Minnesota. We were talking about this coming into the game. I'm glad Minnesota won. This game's big. I'm glad they're 5-5. I'm glad there's a lot on the line. I think we're going to learn a lot about the Niners, right? Because it's like you don't even need. There's not some Newt Rockne speech needed for this game. It's pretty clear what's on the line.
Yeah, I agree, but I would also say what's scary about these are the types of games where you can do things well and still lose on a pick, right? But they might just lose the game.
Yeah, but I'd say this, guy.
Because Minnesota can be really good.
You've lost 4 or 5 games in that situation where a couple of those losses, beside the Arizona loss, came down to a play here, a play there.
Yeah.
If you want to make the playoffs, like, you need to fucking make that play in a game.
100%. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's the margins are thin. Like, a lot of teams lose games and then go through the film and find good things they did. It's really hard to win a bunch of games.
Eventually, in watching the Minnesota game today, like, they did benefit. Like, playing at home is a big deal for them. And that's the one thing with the Niners, for whatever reason, they haven't really got the big benefit from playing at home. They've lost a ton of games. They have looked better on the road, I guess, beside the Monday night game, which I would even throw out a little bit. It was like their season was on the line, right? That was a kitchen sink game. Like, you go 3, they would have been fucked. It would have been over. And they did, and they threw it. And then they backed it up with another good performance today against a shitty team. And now it's like, okay, now you're just playing an equal, which is going to be fun to watch. Like, this game could be 10-10 at half, right? It's not going to be one of those where they just have a commanding lead. It's like they just need to hold them off. Like, it feels like this thing is going to be...
It depends. If they get a safety and then a pick 6 in the first 4 minutes, it's happened before. But no, I agree with you. I think what's unique about them, the Rams game was really the first time they've only beaten one good team this year.
Eagles aren't terrible.
Eagles aren't terrible. Okay. So they beat a not terrible team. Put it this way, they've only beaten one team ahead of them in the standings.
Yeah.
And that was the Rams. Well, I mean, this is part of the, pull yourself up by your own bootstraps theory. Beat somebody ahead of you.
It's a big week.
Don't wait for somebody else to beat Minnesota. You got to beat Minnesota.
You know what's exciting about this week is a defensive head coach who is their defensive play caller, Kyle, and offense, who kind of feels like he's, corralled his group and got back into a rhythm. Like, this is from a schematic standpoint. Like, I was thinking today, and I heard this from Michael Lombardi, and I've stolen this, and he's right. The big college, for the most part, Urban really separated from everyone, and so is Nick. Nick's a better, I think, schematic coach, but best recruiter in the game. No one recruited better. So Monday through Sunday, he's out recruiting everyone. There is no recruiting once the NFL season. You know what you do? You scheme. Monday through Sunday, you scheme. And you watch Urban today, and you just go like, they didn't even have any curveballs. and obviously Kyle's team is better, but when I think Kyle Shanahan, would he ever work in college? No. Do you think I could never see him on the phone on Wednesday night? You know why? He wants to be nerding out on the whiteboard. He wants to be drawing. Like, he's a schemer. That's when I think Kyle Shanahan, I think schematics. When I think Urban Meyer, I think on the phone at Ezekiel Elliott or the Bosa's high school. You couldn't pay Kyle Shanahan to do fucking Lane Kiffin going to Arch's game. He'd
That's
hate
the
that.
thing. Lane's interesting, right? Because Lane seems like he fits in both
Well, and
categories.
I think Lincoln and Nick, you just have to embrace it if you're going to be in college. Where I think that's the hard part for Urban to make the transition is he's a recruiter, and Kyle's a schemer, and Kyle took him to the woodshed. But listen,
We're better players.
Zimmer is a polarizing guy. I think in Minnesota fan land, he's probably going to get fired if they miss the playoffs. But when I think Mike Zimmer, I think defensive schematics. How many defensive head coaches in the NFL are defensive play callers? It's got to be him and Brandon Staley. It's a short list. Mike Tomlin hasn't called plays in his career since he got to Pittsburgh.
Since he was a defensive coordinator for like 2 years, a year or two.
I think it was a year. When's the
1
last
year,
time
yeah.
Pete Carroll called? Defensive head coaches go, CEO. Zimmer is a 5-year-old, however old the guy is, with the play sheet in front of his hand.
Yeah.
That's his baby.
Yeah. Well, that's what makes them so unique. It's why on paper I felt like they should be better. Not this year, but just under Mike Zimmer. So you got a really good defensive coach and an explosive offense. How does that not work?
Well, this is the pushback, and this is what's so fascinating about this week. 10 a.m. Cousins is, a Pro Bowler. He put him in some of these different spots. He doesn't look the same. And so when he's not as elite, they're not as good.
He's
Now,
just
who are we
not
getting?
elite.
Well, they played him, and I was at that game, the playoff game. They fucking destroyed him.
Yeah,
Now,
I think
they had Diggs instead of Jefferson.
Well, that's an upgrade. Although
Diggs
Diggs was good in that game.
He had a touchdown. Yeah, he was sweet.
Yeah, early, right?
They went.
First-
Their one drive was 3 passes. I think it was a completion, a PI, and a touchdown. Boom, 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 touchdown. But that's all they did. I think that was the final. That was all their points.
Cold and Silent says, does Fangio call his own plays?
No, I think they have a defensive coordinator. I think. It's a good question though. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah, I
don't
guess
think he does.
we'll get to this matchup more later in the week, but the flip side of it, right, is that some of the things we talk about with Garoppolo also apply to Cousins. Can he avoid that mistake that he probably can overcome? The difference is that for a lot of this year, you haven't had Kittle or you haven't had the guys that help you erase things.
They have Jefferson every game. I think
They got erasers, And here's the other thing, John. Like New Orleans, which way are they trending?
down.
Philly, whatever. Carolina, which way are they trending?
Down.
You've got a couple teams now. We've been saying for a while we think it's 2 spots. Maybe Minnesota's trending up. So maybe, if you don't beat them now, not only are you in a bad place, you might still get some help, and you are still potentially in the playoff race. But now instead of 2 spots, there's 1 probably. Right? If Minnesota goes on the road and beats the
100%. Like whoever loses this game is not out, but you're just in such a better position with the tiebreaker over that team and being 6-5 and giving yourself some wiggle room of, you have 6 games left. All you do is need to go 4-2 in the games. You go 5-6 to get to 10. It's a lot more difficult, right? Can you go 5-1? That's a difficult stretch of football. Now 9-8 may get you in there when all the dust settles, but that's pretty risky. I think this week is enormous for just the last December stretch of 5 games. It gives you some breathing room, or no?
Yeah. David says, I think the Saints are in trouble. Look at their remaining schedule.
They're done. I mean, Simeon's he's not good enough. Just that simple. Honestly, Minnesota, I feel like Minnesota would be more likely to lose this game and still make it than the Niners. Just because the Niners could lose to Seattle. Niners got that Thursday night game to Tennessee. Their schedule's a little weird. Cincinnati, I don't know who's covering Jamar Chase on the Niners.
I would not want to be New Orleans Thursday night, first of all. And then they play the Cowboys, who I guess they both play Thursdays, right? New Orleans and the Cowboys both play Thursday. That game will be at home. That game's in New Orleans. So they got to play the Bills and the Cowboys next. They play Jets.
You're saying Dallas Cowboys is the following Thursday?
No, I'm saying the Saints and the Cowboys both play Thursday, so they both have extra time. I think they play Sunday night the following week. Cowboys, Saints.
Okay.
Then they play the Jets, then they play the Bucs, then the Dolphins, the Panthers, the Falcons. I mean, I'm with you. It's more about them than it is about that schedule. Them just not being good enough. Minnesota's remaining schedule, after the Niners, they play the Lions. Then they play the Steelers. Then they play the Bears twice. They also play the Rams and the Packers.
Cowboys Saints is the following Thursday. They did this 2 years ago.
Oh, they're playing back-to-back Thursday games?
Yeah. So the second Thursday is a normal week.
That's weird.
It is.
But, I'm sure the Cowboys on Thursday Night Football is not a bad recipe.
But the Saints lose these next 2 games, I'd say they're fucked. Like, are they making a run?
And they're not going to be favored, neither one of them.
You go 5-7, you got to win out to go to get to 10 wins. They can't do that, Trevor Siemian.
Minnesota's got some wins left on its schedule too. Lions, Bears twice, Steelers.
Minnesota's even if Minnesota
they look
loses,
like a playoff team. They look like a playoff team. That's what I would say about them.
You could argue both these two teams should be like the 2 playoff spots should go to the Niners and Minnesota. But like you said, you look at the Niners, who they beat beside the Rams, who they just own. You want to feel good about going to the playoffs? You got to start beating some good teams. This would be their best win of the season, given how much is on the line. You've got your mojo back. To beat this team means you have to play well. They have really good players. They have players that you would see in the playoffs, right? Jefferson's elite. Thielen dominates. Dalvin Cook is fucking sweet. Cousins, he's got his issues, but he's probably better than the quarterback you have. He is. Who's better quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo or Kirk Cousins?
Cousins.
Yeah.
I would just also put it this way: like in any given day, they're likely to have 3 of the top 6 players in any game they play in.
You know Cousins' touchdown to pick ratio this year?
Cousins' touchdown to pick. I'm going to say I don't.
I got to look it up.
Count
it
today?
Even look real. Yeah, I'm counting today.
Okay, I'm going to guess. Based on what you just said, that it's 24-4.
You're close. It's 21-2.
How's that guy? How's this possible?
How's he only thrown 2 interceptions? He got lucky today. Like I bet the PFF guys would say he's 3 or 4 drops. Like that one, he hit Savage in the hands, right? He hit him in the hands.
It would have been it was a tough catch.
Yeah, he was up in the air, but
it
was a pickable ball for
in a moment where you could not have that happen.
Well, he was force feeding his best player that they clearly double teamed, right? I would imagine Savage cheated. Pulled a little Ed Reed, like I'm gonna fake like I'm going, but I'm going over to 18. Because I'll give Cousins credit on this one. He realizes this guy's better than everyone. He force feeds him the ball, right?
Yeah.
It's like when all else fails, he ain't going to Thielen. He's going to Jefferson. And Jefferson, for the most part, comes down with the plays.
Patrick says he's the good Baker. Where are Baker's numbers Sunday?
I don't think very good. Because they were like tied with the Lions for a minute. What was the final score? 13-10. Baker was 15 of 29, 176. You want to hear Tim Boyle's line?
Please.
15 of 23 for 77 yards, 3.3 yards an attempt, and 2 interceptions.
Okay.
DeAndre Swift had a good game. 14 carries, 136 yards. The Lions ran for 168.
Was it snowing? Baker was 52%.
No, I'm watching some highlights here in the background. It looks like a cold, chilly, sunny day.
Sleet? Maybe?
That's terrible.
What a game, huh? That is an eye-wash game. God bless you.
That's bad.
If you watch that. All right. Something to mention for those of you, we've been streaming for about an hour now. And again, this will be coming out of the podcast. But if you're just hopping on the stream since we began, you might see it in the corner over John's head. You might see it scrolling along the bottom. You might see it in the description. We have today we're launching a fundraiser through the end of the year, through December 31st, to benefit No Kid Hungry. And we're very excited about it. And we hope that you will, whatever amount you want, will be able to donate some and help us raise a bunch of money. We have, to start this fundraiser, $17,000 to start this fundraiser.
Yep. Ham's in for $10K.
$10,000 in.
Yeah, Ham's in for $10,000. Tito's is in for $5,000.
$5,000 in.
Questo is in for $2,000. We started with $17,000. The goal is to get to 25 over the next month, and we think we can do that with your guys' help. So if you're watching this on YouTube, the link nokidhungry.org/ham, tax deductible. Give as much as you can. Do everything you can to help. We're going to keep it in California to help feed kids that can't eat, because that just, if that doesn't make you feel something on your insides when you think about kids going hungry, I don't know what does.
Thanksgiving week, so it's a great time to start it through the holiday season. A $1 can provide up to 10 meals starting since March 2020. No Kid Hungry. School and community grantees in California received $12.5 million. That's over 200 million meals. $12.5 million in about a year and a half. Since the beginning of the pandemic, around the country, $100 million in grants to schools and communities throughout the country. So you're going to see the link a lot of places. It starts now. It goes through the end of the year. We've got 17,000. John mentioned earlier, we're going to start the first goal at $25,000. Let's get to $25,000.
What's that math? We need 8?
We need $8,000.
$8,000.
So can we raise $8,000 more? We appreciate that. 4-9 Bloodline on the stream says, I'll be donating on payday. So we appreciate that. Thank you. There's not a counter on the site, but we'll be getting updates from Emily at No Kid Hungry, and we'll be updating you, and we appreciate that. So we'll probably mention that a couple times per stream, but link is right down in the description. So give it a click.
Yeah, give it a click.
Send it to somebody you know. Maybe everybody sent it to one person. Huh? How about that? All right. Before we go on, John, let's tell the people about DraftKings.
Ooh.
DraftKings, where I guess we should probably have a couple of games in the Haberman and Middlekauff DraftKings League this week, right?
Yeah, let's do a Thursday game with the 3 games.
Okay.
Let's do a Sunday game.
Yep.
Let's do that. So download. Here's what you got to do. You got to go to the App Store. You got to download the DraftKings app. Use the promo code HAM when you sign up, and get into it right now, because DraftKings rocking and rolling, getting our DFS. $1 if you don't live in California and Sportsbook is available. $100 in free bets. If you want to get into our DFS game, hop into that.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, we have had a lot of fun with it. Maybe Thanksgiving, maybe this is Middlekauff's first win. We'll see. You've been in the money a lot, and the win has been elusive, but maybe this is the time. Historically, what has happened is somebody else wins and takes our money.
Yeah.
So get in the Haberman and Middlekauff DraftKings League. We'll put the link out. We haven't put the game up. We'll put the game up Monday. We'll make it 2 different games. And if you have any trouble with it, send us a DM. But we love playing DraftKings. Daily fantasy is the way to go. It's absolutely the way to go. And we hope that you join us.
Yep. Promo code HAM when you download the app.
Podcast also brought to you by Manscaped. Santa, John, you coming down that chimney, you got to be slick. You can't have your chest hair grinded on the inside of the chimney. So manscaped.com, promo code HAM.
Yep. Download, or actually you don't need to download anything. Just go to manscaped.com, promo code HAM. You get 20% off. Lawnmower 4.0. Guy and I have that. The, what's it called? The Weed Whacker? Is that what the nose hair trimmer? It's incredible.
Yeah, what do they call that thing? Is it the Weed Whacker?
That doesn't sound quite right.
That doesn't sound correct.
Yeah, but just go to manscaped.com, use the promo code HAM, you get 20% off. The Lawnmower 4.0 is incredible. It's got an LED light. The nose trimmer is unreal. I've used it several times. And waterproof, LED light, hard to beat.
Weed Whacker,
the Weed
John.
Whacker. I was right.
Yeah, you were.
I was right. You put that bad boy right up your nose. You trim those hairs. You don't want those long hairs linking down. There's nothing like a nose hair touching your lip. Going to a nice dinner or
you don't want to be
business
pulling
meeting
them either. That's dangerous.
No, yeah, you can get injured that way.
No, you don't want to do any of that. So this is your pubic surface announcement. The Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer now available. You got the wireless charging, which is awesome. At this point, if you're not wireless charging, what are you doing? 20% off and free shipping. Code HAM at manscaped.com. Code HAM, 20% off, free shipping. Unlock your confidence. Always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Maybe some of you younger folks, maybe some of our listeners, John, might be at college. You're going home for the holidays. You're going to meet up downtown, find some people from high school you haven't seen in a few years. Maybe you've dropped a few LBs in senior year. You're looking good. You're ready to party. And, you want to be clean and ready to roll.
Get on it.
You know, Julie's been at Boston College, back home for Thanksgiving, back home for Christmas, and you know, you want to meet up. So
You know what they don't tell you is that, you know, that freshman 15, you know, the 30s 15, that comes as well.
what do you mean?
Once you get like in your 30s, you
Oh,
just
the
gain
30s,
weight.
15. Yeah.
You just metabolism slows down.
All right, so on we go. And I think one of the things that has stood out without question, call it luck, call it whatever you want, is that George Kittle and Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel are on the field together. It's amazing. It's like you sign players, you draft players, you develop players. You want your best players on the field. It makes a difference when they are. And it does feel like a different team with those three guys consistently on the field for the 49ers.
Well, I mean, it was easily his best game of the season statistically. He had 7 catches for 85 yards. Like, the guys look really good the last couple of weeks, just moving around, catching the ball, explosion, his athleticism, his ability to make shit happen with the ball. And like, Brandon Ayuk is a big-time talent. Like, it's one of those things, and for a while we were arguing back and forth, not necessarily me and you, but just people, is Ayuk, how good is he? Is this the next Pettis? Like, he has nothing in common with Dante Pettis, right? He's a legit talent. Now, for whatever reason, not on the same page as the coaching staff, but like, you know, George Kittle is an all-pro level talent. Like, I'm not saying he's going to be an all-pro this year because he's missed games, but he would start for every team in the league. Like, even Andy Reid would use 2 tight end sets, right? He's that special of a guy. Deebo Samuel is having a career season and is a star. But Brandon Ayuk, when you watch him with those guys, you're like, yeah, he belongs. Like, it's just, he's one of those 3, right? Now, I'm not saying he's as good as Deebo or as impactful as George, but he's fucking good. And so when you get this guy who feels like he's, I don't know if it's confidence back, if just like he feels like the coaching staff believes in him, whatever. Maybe they're just throwing in the ball more. But, guy, he had 7 targets today, 7 catches. Like, it's efficient. Like, Deebo now has established himself. George has been was the highest paid tight end last year, right? I mean, but you add him to the mix we know they'll just find running backs, that they're in pretty good shape.
We wondered what the hell they were up to with Ayuk.
It was weird. You have to admit it.
It was very weird. I mean, we talked about it a lot, and what made it harder is the sort of cloudy language around him. And I don't know who deserves the credit. I start with him because he was the guy that they were suggesting little things, little hints just needed to be practicing harder, his GPS numbers, more locked in, whatever it was. Maybe it wasn't totally healthy.
Feels like they liked him. They were mad at him, but still liked him, so didn't totally crush him, right?
I mean, first and foremost, wanted him to succeed and, you know, probably understood ripping your own player, at least this particular player. Maybe sometimes you send messages a certain way with guys. I don't know if it worked, but I give them credit for being, I guess, somewhat patient with him, but I give him credit for responding to public criticism. I mean, that's my point. Yeah. They could have been more critical. They didn't share all the information that everybody wanted. But the bottom line is sometimes in-season adjustments are hard, especially for young players. And maybe it was as simple as he wasn't fully in shape because he had not been totally healthy. But he clearly made an in-season adjustment and responded. So I have to give the Niners some credit here. They handled it a certain way. We didn't all understand why they were handling it a certain way, and now Brandon Ayuk is playing well. So I think everybody involved on that side of things deserves some credit for this. And by the way, thankfully, it didn't he came back ready to roll when it still matters that he contributes.
They were a little cloak and dagger with it, right? It was just
but I give them they were operating what they thought was the best way to get him right. It wasn't so much we have to explain why he sucks and rip the guy so he looks bad and we look good. It was they were trying to find a solution.
Last 4 games, 20 catches, right? That's where you're heading in the right direction.
Yeah.
4 games, 20 catches, couple touchdowns, and just you see him and you go, yeah, that's what it's supposed to look like. And even in the Arizona game, when that fumble, that play was sweet, right? He goes up there like he's an NBA player, 50-inch vertical, catches it, gets on his feet, makes a guy miss, gets upfield. He looks sweet. I thought today, like, Deebo's going to get all the credit just because he's doing crazy shit. I don't know. He switched positions mid-season. Like, it's one thing, like, everyone hands the ball. Like, Robert Woods gets end arounds. Odell Beckham has got end arounds. Deshaun Jackson used to get end arounds back when he was fast. That's not weird to give your playmakers the ball. You know, I remember an offensive coordinator once told me, he said Andy Reid's best attribute is like people crush him for not running the ball. But if you look historically, he gets the ball to his running backs a lot. He would just argue, yeah, I don't give Shady McCoy 18 carries. I give him 11 carries and I throw him the ball 9 times. Like I get him his touches. They just get Debo his touches, but he can line up in the backfield and just stand there like a running back, which is pretty unique. You know, I would say, you know, Justin Jefferson ain't doing that. Devontae's not doing that. Like, it's a hard thing to do. And he looks pretty natural doing it. That Ayuk is a true wide receiver, and he's starting to just, make switch it happen just on a slant route and get an extra 5 yards. He's tough. He makes contested catches. You notice today, like, I'd even say over the last 3 or 4 weeks, he's made catches in traffic. Ball skills are really, really good. You know, he catches the ball away from his body. It's not like he's a body catcher because he's not the biggest guy, but it doesn't have to be perfect. He can jump. Obviously, once the ball's in his hand, he's really fast. He's a big-time talent. You know, I don't know if he's ever going to be like Justin Jefferson or whatever, but you can't convince me that he can't be a 80, 90 catch guy. Right?
Well, you go back to the beginning of the season, we thought this was going to be one of the best combinations of receivers in the league because we thought, and I projected what they would need from him was somewhere around 75 plus catches.
Guy, 20 catches. Maybe this isn't updated because it says he has 22 catches. He had 7 today. I don't know.
Who are you talking about?
Yeah,
Debo or Ayuk?
It's not updated. So he has 29 catches now in the season. He had 22 coming in today.
Yeah, not great.
He had 7 today. But
maybe the pace.
Yeah, you start having 6 to 7 to 8 catches a game. You get up to, by the end of the season, he has 60, right? Yeah. They have 7 games left. If he averages, 5 times 7, 35, you're already at 60 catches. That's fine.
Yeah. Yep.
Given the way, like you said, he started. I mean, guy, he had, through the first 4 games, he had 1, 5, 6. I mean, he had 8 catches through the first month of the season. That was a little weird. Averaging 2 catches a game.
Bizarre.
It was weird. Actually, 8. He had 9 catches through the first 5 games, and he's got 20 since. So he's definitely trending in the right direction, which is a positive.
Debo Samuel had 8 carries in the game. He had 11 carries coming in, so he has 19 catches now on this season. Okay, in his first 2 years, he had 22 carries. Debo has 19 carries on the season. He had 22 carries in the first 2 years. I'd be curious how many of those came from the running back spot and weren't just, end arounds. 3, maybe?
I would guess he had it felt like he had a lot of end around play, right?
Honestly, if you had asked me how many end arounds he had in the first 2 years of his career, I would have guessed more than 22.
Felt like he lined up early on a lot like the wing T offense. You know, when the guys like lined up over the tight end and kind of comes around. The use check
kind of, yeah.
Yeah, that's where 19 lines up sometimes.
I mean, I don't love the idea of Debo Samuel getting 8 carries a game for the rest of the season, but
I don't hate it because when you watch him, it feels like he's gotten a little smarter with the ball in his hands, doesn't it? Like it doesn't feel like he's quite lowering his shoulder. He's getting down. Like I feel like he's playing pretty intelligently.
I think he gets in actually lower impact collisions from the running back spot than he does when he's on an end around. Well,
do you know who gets in the highest?
Great vision. I mean,
I'll tell you who gets in the highest impact plays is 85. Catch on and out, throws the corner off, sees 3 DBs, and goes, I'm coming at all 3 of you motherfuckers. Lowers his shoulder, and it's just a huge collision. Like that, I respect it.
In a 24-point game with 4 minutes left in Jacksonville.
Is there anyone that seeks contact with the ball in his hands like George? Of all offensive skill guys in the league. He yearns for it.
I don't think so, man. I don't see how you could find anybody else. I mean, did Jerome Bettis look for contact like this? I
looked up. I saw Zeke limping off today, actually.
Yeah, I don't know what his deal was today. I didn't. Yeah. Anyway, I think if we pull up the box score, kind of matches what we saw. Debo 9 touches, Ayuk 7 touches. I would say actually with Kittle, it doesn't match 4 touches and a touchdown. It felt like he had, and the beauty with Kittle, he does more, and then obviously they try to get the ball to their other star on offense, Trent Williams.
Aaron Williams?
I mean, I have been begging. Actually, that's not right. I have not been begging. I've just been expecting. I thought it was going to happen against the football team last year as a fuck you to Dan Snyder, and it didn't happen.
Do you like the way they did it? And then listen,
No,
I hate
it.
It's like Kyle, and again, I don't even pretend to know more offensive football schematics than Kyle. But when you do line him up on the opposite side, he's like, I'm checking in as a tight end. Like, what do we think's going to happen? It's pretty obvious. Now, I guess to throw him the ball, he has to check in, correct?
He has to declare eligible, but maybe you would get away with it a little
They
more
lined
if
him
he's
up
on the
right
other side of the offense.
Who's to the left? I don't know. Trent Williams, the best tackle in the football. Wait, he's lined up over the right tackle? What's going on?
Even if you didn't catch the fact that he alerted the officials to the fact that he's eligible, you would notice him standing in the wrong place. So he gets double teamed.
Do you appreciate Jimmy G force feeding the ball? You got to.
Jimmy told him, "I'm throwing you the ball no matter who's open."
Yeah.
Would
you have gone lollipop instead of a little harder pass?
It wouldn't have mattered. Nothing was working. It wouldn't have worked.
Well, you go back shoulder. He had space behind him.
Let the route develop, maybe?
Well, just let him fall down,
That's what happened, I thought.
Yeah, but he threw more of a straight line pass than a looper.
Just hoping it would get through somebody's arms. Every big man, thick six, as I saw Jeff Schwartz calling it the other day, college football, it's how do offensive linemen score touchdowns? It's usually like the misdirection. Everyone's flowing one way. The guy leaks out.
Yeah.
So there's that one, like the way JJ Watt scored his against the Raiders, right? Kind of lined up, and then he just
ran him a fade route, yeah.
Then, like you said, you got the throwback play happens all the time. Oh, like a throwback screen type situation.
I feel like they used to throw Vrabel. He would just play tight end and just run a route. I'd say that's what JJ did, run a route.
I don't know if I've ever seen someone try to throw a touchdown to an offensive lineman like that. And still nobody has, because that was not working.
Honestly, when he went up, I was like, it's pretty he coming down. Can you imagine him twisting an ankle or something?
Well, you said it, and you said it the other day, because we've anyone who's been listening for a while know we've talked about this for a while. You said the other day, I'm like, why wouldn't you do it? And you said, because he could get hurt. And I thought of that watching him get up, because he fell hard. He's big. He falls hard.
Would you hand him the ball? Too risky.
I would just stop now entirely. I would walk away from it. We tried. Sorry. Yeah. Maybe it'll be in the game plan when you're a free agent, week 17. But
that's where I was thinking. They did a couple things today. They ran a quarterback sneak on 3rd and 2. And they got it pretty easy.
One other thing, John. But I'll reset that up in a second. I didn't even know this. I like to think I know some of the rules. When you're an offensive lineman that reports eligible, you can't be in the next play. You have to come out for a play.
Oh, that's why he left?
Yes.
Oh, I was like, why did you put him in moving back tackle?
Anyway, sorry, make the point you're
okay, so that's a pretty risky thing to do that with your star.
You don't really do it unless it's gonna work, it's a 4th down, or
like 3rd and 5.
It doesn't really matter what's happening.
Yeah. I get you.
I did not know that.
You know rules better than me.
I did not know that rule. It makes no sense.
Like, why is he coming off the field?
It's weird. Anyway,
yeah.
Because I guess then you'd have to declare ineligible. I'm sorry, you were going to make.
Well, because I do, and listen, I know football is just a numbers game in the blocking element of it. But for example, and it's irrelevant. But when you get to the within the 2-yard line, you do have a good left guard, a center, and definitely the best left tackle, a high-paid tight end that can block, and an elite fullback. Like I think you just go, we know what we're doing, you guys know what we're doing, mano a mano, let's fucking roll. and just roll. With Jeff Wilson or when Elijah Mitchell comes back, and like when you're in I can never fault, because I would say offensive coordinators sometimes get crushed when they go for it, and it's like, oh, they ran it up the gut. No, just run it off the tackle and with your tight end. And just, we're coming left. You guys are lined up left. We're just going to shove you. That to me is what, I understand going up the gut when everyone lines up. I don't care if you have Jim Otto as your center. But when you kind of go off a tackle, especially with what they can do with their tight end and their fullback, and their, Jeff Wilson and definitely when Elijah comes back are physical runners, I would do that. Or hell, even do like quarterback, like kind of. Jimmy's a good quarterback sneaker.
The more I watch football, the more I like quarterback sneaks.
Well, it worked. Clearly, they had a play today lined up that if they had a certain gap open, he could check to a quarterback sneak at 3rd and 2. And he got it.
Yeah.
What do you think he got? 3 yards?
Yeah. You know what? I love that. Because the thing that baffles me, I was thinking about this Saturday. I had this offensive coordinator, Haberman, thought, watching college football. If you're ever in 4-down territory, then to me, and you're in 3rd and short, or even if you're not in 3rd and short, if you're in 4-down territory, you should always, I think, have a quick snap sneak just as an option. Because I see it a lot where a team is 3rd and 3, they get a yard or they get stopped on a handoff, and then they stand around and everybody like, no, let's get back to the line of scrimmage. What are we going to do? Unless we're planning on running some mystery. If you're going to run it on 3rd and 3, get stopped, and then you're going to turn around and hand it off again on 4th down, then you should at least have the option to do a quick sneak at the line of scrimmage after you get stopped on 3rd and short.
Well, you know where the Niners benefit on that situation? They run a lot of toss plays. So you can never just sell out for like the A-gap blitz, because when I think Kyle Shanahan's favorite play, I either think outside zone or toss. And I would say this year, the toss crack or whatever they call it, like he's been doing that, right? And he has. I mean, he's run that play since he's been here. And that's part of having George Kittle and Kyle Juszczyk, right? Why do you toss the ball? I don't know, because I have a sweet pass or run blocking tackles. Definitely now with McGlinchey out, at least one, and a tight end and a fullback that can really block. I feel pretty comfortable making my running back pick a spot, and he's going to get 3 or 4 yards. Though, early in the game, you gave the Jags some credit. Like they had scouted that play pretty well. Like they were there. Yeah. They were overloading the corners.
I want to get this comment in. This is from Rich, who says he's from South Carolina. You should have seen Debo in high school. He said Debo's single game yards record got broken last month. He flew back and gave the kid a signed jersey to congratulate him. That's pretty cool.
I don't think it's nothing that Debo and Trent Williams are buddies. Like they've kind of gravitated toward each other. Like that's sometimes your wide receiver can just go down a diva path. And listen, when the guy's good, there's nothing you can do about it, right? My core, again, like I enjoy running the ball. I'm a Pat Hill, even though, Andy's much more of a passer. He's an offensive lineman at his core, likes physical guys. Like I love this type of football. Listen, I like elite wide receivers, but I like my guy just to be more toward Debo. I love Devontae Adams. Like when I think Devontae Adams, I think just Keenan Allen, just tough, Yeah.
Yep.
I could just depend on him. And Debo, we didn't really know because he just last year had the hamstring injuries. His rookie season, especially, remember down the stretch how awesome he was? I didn't think he was this good. I mean, I'll be honest. Like, this is pretty crazy to watch. He is a dominant player right now, guy.
Yeah, and I do think he has – I think Kyle is obviously using him a certain way. I think he's benefited from playing for Kyle Shanahan as well.
Oh, for sure. But wouldn't he be good with? I mean, at his level he's at right now, he'd be kicking everyone's ass.
Yeah, absolutely. But the creativity really benefits him, and obviously he embraces it. Not everybody would want to embrace playing the way that he plays, or positionally doing some of the different things that he does. I think back to when Kyle Juszczyk was on the podcast in the offseason, and he said Debo Samuel really benefited from he thought Debo benefited from having Emmanuel Sanders on the team in 2019. And he said, remember, for those of you that missed that interview or don't remember it, he said he was talking about how much he loved Ayuk. He was actually talking about Debo in the context of Ayuk. He was telling us how much he loved Ayuk, and that he thinks Ayuk he would really benefit from a veteran receiver around him in the way that Debo really benefited from having Emmanuel Sanders around. At some point, who knows? Maybe one day we'll get the story. Maybe it was some Kittle. Maybe it was Sanu. Maybe it was watching Trent Sherfield. Maybe it was, I don't know if, John, you know this, but Kyle Shanahan used to be a receiver in college. It's been mentioned on every broadcast for the last month for some reason. It's like Kyle is telling receiver stories in the production meeting. Have you noticed that? Everyone's like, and they don't just say like Kyle was a receiver. They're like, from his receiver roots, as if like it's influenced the way he calls.
Well, one thing they dropped today was like, if you're going to be a receiver for Kyle, you got to block because he was a receiver. You mean just like a walk-on guy at Texas? Like, no, he believes in blocking because his run scheme is a run-oriented thing. Like Chip Kelly was big on blocking. Why? Because Chip loved running the ball.
Yes,
I bet Lincoln. What do you think Lincoln Riley preaches to his wide receivers when he's calling like outside zone runs? Block. I mean, it's not like, hey guys, back when I was 20 and I was 17th on the depth chart and Chris Sims was my roommate, we got matching tight ends. I blocked every day in practice. I know with the scout team. He wants his receivers to block for his baby, the offense.
Right. Being his father's son has more to do with that than the fact that he wasn't an air raid guy until he got to college.
They act like he's Odell Beckham or something.
It's come up like 4 straight weeks. It's incredible. But
I bet he would be a little embarrassed the way they talk about it.
I don't know. It makes me feel like he's in those production meetings. Like, and here's a picture of me after my.
I feel like he wanted to be a quarterback more than a wide receiver.
Totally. Yeah, I know. But anyway, I think maybe it's been Debo that's had some. Maybe I do wonder. One of the questions I would ask if we were sitting with people who could give us the whole picture of what's happened with Ayuk is any of this Debo? Because you're right. It's not an accident that when they line up in the home tunnel, it's Debo Samuel and Trent Williams side by side next to the boombox that's the size of a front door.
Yeah. I had the thought actually today to, if next week goes as planned, to send out a bat signal text tomorrow to someone that, maybe they could give us some information on that maybe next couple weeks as a little podcast guest.
Don Yee?
Yes, you're getting warmer. Someone on the inside. I think would be a pretty good interview that would give us some good takes.
Okay. All right.
But we need them to be winning. That's the only way we can have them on.
All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see if Jed gets back to you.
It's amazing how happy and open-minded people are to doing stuff when you win 3 or 4 games in a row.
Yeah. No, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. Okay. Are the Seahawks done? Like done, or what? They got beat. Colt McCoy, who has now won 2 road divisional games, and not because his team ran the ball well. Colt McCoy was pretty good. Like every time I looked up, they were kind of in a dicey situation, the Cardinals, and they just would convert a third down or make a play. McCoy with his legs. The Cardinals went and beat the Seahawks. Russell was not good today. He was 14 of 26 for 207, no touchdowns. DK, I guess, had a new hair color today, was 4 of 31. At one point, I was watching that game, and only you watching the video will see this, but DK went in motion, John, and he went in motion like slowly. I got to go back and find it. And he does he's just like, puts his arms out and goes like, it's like some weird, it kind of felt to me like a running through the motion. It was weird.
Are they not in a good spot?
It doesn't feel like they are. What do you think?
I think Pete Carroll's not going to be the coach there next year, and I think that it's for as good as now they've gotten a little derailed lately, but the Packers, Aaron didn't get injured, right? They handled the offseason drama. It does feel like the Russell offseason drama, something just didn't quite click. Their offense was never good, and then he hurt his finger, and they're now royally fucked. They're 3-7. For them to get to 10 wins, they'd have to win out. That's not happening, right? Are they winning their next 7 games? No chance. They scored 13 points. But here's the thing. They have had an incredible run. They've basically, in Pete's decade long there, I think this is his 9th season, they've made the playoffs 8 times. Or maybe this is their 10th season with Russell. So they've made the playoffs 8 of 9 times. And the one season they missed it, they went 9-7. People forget they won the division last year by multiple games, but it does feel like everything. And even last year, remember, it's like, how are they 12-4? I watch them every fucking week. They're pulling games out of their ass. And it does feel that for several years, they pulled some of the craziest games out of their ass, that this year it's kind of coming to roost. Because if DK is going to be a weirdo, right? And I don't mean I just mean a weirdo in the sense
an inconsistent,
not an all-in guy. They are screwed because part of their talent, right, was him. Was he going to be the next Terrell Owens? And he had 4 catches today. That's just. I thought of him is he going to be a consistent 8-9 catch a game for 150 yards and an unstoppable force? That's not the case. And I don't even know what the right adjective is to describe him, but I saw Bobby Wagner say last week, he's like, early Richard Sherman, could just get really emotional and let it impact them. And Richard learned to kind of handle it all. And he's like, I see some of that in DK, but clearly Richard was much more mentally stable than DK Metcalf, right? And he's a more consistent player.
This has a very negative connotation to it. Maybe it is negative. I think one of the biggest qualities I'd try to avoid if I were a general manager, and part of this is you get a good environment around a guy and people develop, people grow. A 19-year-old who comes into the league as a front runner maybe can learn how to deal with adversity. But it feels like maybe there's some front runner qualities. I don't know. When it's going bad, this is life. A lot of things go bad. Can you still perform in those circumstances? These are football games. It feels like they've got a little bit of a front runner vibe right now, and it's not working. And so it's just the hole's getting deeper.
But the weird part is Russell, moved heaven and earth 19 hours a day to Russell does try to play and do everything he can to play. Now, maybe he's just not good. It's hard for him to be good when they don't have a run game. Their defense is atrocious. Like you said, Colt McCoy against the Niners, remember, it was like, well, his stats were really good and he played excellent, but it was like, I think 22 of 26 and he hit a bunch of long screen plays.
Yeah.
35 of 44 for 330 today. 44 attempts from Colt McCoy and you lose by 10? We talked about this before the podcast. What would any playoff team give to say, hey, your starting quarterback is going to miss 3 games, and he missed 3 games, and the backup quarterback is going to win 2 of 3 of them, and 2 of those are going to be divisional opponents on the road. That guy's worth $10 million, right?
Yeah. Because
he's a good guy, and the games he doesn't start, you love him around there, right?
Right. And he can help your young quarterback. Like, he's good around a young quarterback. I think
people on the team love him.
High level. I think you start signing backup quarterbacks to a lot of money. I think.
You know how much money he made this year, guy?
Is he cheap? Is that what you're saying?
Very.
How much?
$137,000 signing bonus, $1.2 million salary cap. Is that the best deal in the league right now? Backup quarterback, 1 or 2 games, $1.2 million. Total.
Yeah, it has to be the non-rookie deal.
Yeah, I mean, for a guy in his 30s. Let me just say that. Guy in his 30s right now, best deal in the league so far this season has to be him. $137,000 signing bonus. 1.2 on their cap.
I don't have the number quite dialed, but I've had a theory. Like, your backup quarterback, by and large, most of them, it's about, can you win a game? If I need you to win a game,
excuse me,
you end up.
His dead cap's 1.2. His cap hit is $987.
So it's cheaper to keep. Well, I guess not particularly cheap, but yeah.
No, he's not cheaper to keep her, but it's his cap hit. It's just an incredible deal. You can't ask for any. And even Kyler's the number 1 overall pick. Like, what's he making this year? 5? Like, their quarterback room, money-wise, is pretty incredible deal.
Wow. I mean, they've lost, it's not like DeAndre Hopkins was back today for them.
No, he didn't play.
So, I mean, are the Seahawks going to lose Russ, and are they going to do like a full reset, trade Russ, replace Pete goes out?
I think so.
Replace him and get whatever you can get for Russell, and Russell's playing quarterback for whoever. Some list of team, the list of teams that wanted Deshaun Watson will just transfer all of that capital to.
Well, do you know that the Niners play them on Sunday Night Football? And who knows? I guess that could technically be flexed
in 2 weeks.
I guess they could flex it this week.
I don't know.
I doubt they do that, but you know that Seattle next week plays the football team, but they play on Monday Night Football?
On the road, right? Or where's that game?
Yeah, at football team. Whew. That's a tough little
effort.
Flying back, into the tailwind, right?
That's right. There's a headwind.
Longer. It's always 30 minutes into the headwind.
That's right. Flying west, you get the flying west is slower. What's the rule on the flex? It's like between week 6 and 11, they can only do it twice or something weird like that, and then 12.
I don't think they flexed anything this season. Now,
So
remember,
they're not going to?
Well, no, I'm just saying they haven't pulled the trigger.
No, you're right. They haven't. What I'm saying is, how there's like a block of weeks where you can
I thought
flex.
they extended it this season. I thought.
But
they had Monday Night Football they added, right? I thought they flexed Monday Night Football this season for the first time.
Yeah, I would be interested if they do. What I'm saying, though, is I thought there was a window. Like, it's not all equally flexible the whole year. Like, there's a window of weeks where you can only do it a couple of times. But I don't know. You're right.
I think it would definitely be kicking in. Their game's 12-5. Like, it starts definitely in December, right? That's when they start flexing. Because they kept moving it up a little bit. But December was always a flex month.
Yeah.
But who knows? Yeah.
Maybe I would honestly, I don't having not looking at the other games on that schedule. The odds that game's a really good game is pretty good.
But it's more. Isn't their thing more about win-loss record?
For sure. How about Eli's got to do well, we can talk about that later. Monday Night Football's the Giants again.
Well, I told you this. I truly believe, and I took a couple edibles and I was in deep thought last night. I was like, they don't want to lose the New York market. It is their number 1 media market in terms of people. But their teams suck so bad. So you know what they realize? They subsidize the New York market with Tom Brady. Pretty genius. She's like, well, if we just put the Giants versus the Eagles, no one's really going to watch, right? But if I give the New York market to watch Tom Brady in Tampa, pretty smart move. Don't you think that's what they did? Because otherwise, why would
Absolutely.
you put the New York Giants this late in the season when you knew they were going to be terrible?
Yep.
You could not give like New York Giants football team.
It'd be
They did the same thing with football team in Seattle next week. You
It'd be
subsidize
like-
them with Russ.
Yeah, it'd be like if Jim Irsay was like, "I'm having a concert," and people were like, "No, we're good." He's like, "Me and Garth Brooks are having a concert." It was like, "All right, we'll come to the concert."
He's no dummy.
So, man, if this is the end for the Seahawks, and I got to tell you, as logical as it is, it still feels less likely than it is likely that it's the end of both of them.
That game's safe. That week sucks.
Okay.
That week sucks. A lot of Jets, Eagles, a lot of Giants, Dolphins, a lot of Vikings, Lions. They're safe. You know what the Monday night game is that week?
In 2 weeks? No.
Patriot Bills. Is Belichick storming back to win the AFC? He had a pretty good day today without doing anything.
Yeah. Remember when
Actually,
Seattle was 1-0 with a win over the Colts?
Seattle in any given week, I mean, before he got hurt, was like the Seattle team that beat the Niners was a wild card level team. Before he hurt his finger, they were fine. I mean, they weren't as good as they've been in previous years. They would have been a factor. They're not
Absolutely.
scoring. Him healthy is not scoring 13 points at home against Arizona, right? He is not the same after his 19-hour-a-day rehab. Should have got some more sleep.
And it feels like that when he's not on, there's not a whole lot of let's elevate Russ coming from his team. That's the problem for them.
Yeah.
It feels like they've got like it's your problem, bro. Throw me the ball.
They're just not getting, Marshawn going for 120 yards, right? Jamal Adams is not getting them 2 picks. Martellus Bennett and Cliff Averill getting them 6 sacks in a game. I remember going to Niner games when the Niners were down and they were good. I swear to God, they'd have like 6 or 7 sacks in a game. It was like, you can't block these guys. They are just, now they invested all their money into him. Like it's like, Russell, you get $38 million. It's like paying. Once you do that, you need him to be really good, right? Like today, I mean, I didn't watch that much of Cowboys Chiefs, but you just look at the score. Like, if Kansas City is going to hold their opponent to under 10 points, guess what? They're going to win every game they play in, even if Mahomes isn't good. Like Seattle doesn't even have that in the bag. Seattle, I would say a good day for them. If they hold an opponent to like 17 points the last couple of years, that feels like a Super Bowl victory.
Right. And I'm not even sure they win that game.
No. So it's just I wonder if it gets ugly, right? Because if Russ is going to ask for a trade, like, well, we're going to fire Pete if he asks for a trade, but it's like, Pete, are you going to like restart here with a brand new team?
I see that part wouldn't totally shock me, just in that this Pete is in control, right? Technically.
Kind of, yeah.
Kind of. Although, ownership has transitioned. And I wouldn't be shocked if Pete wants to start again without Russ, as opposed to going out like this.
Yeah.
And, I do think it won't end. I do wonder. They've accomplished so much together. But it's going to be hard for this thing to just end quietly and peacefully.
I agree. Well, most things do not end quietly and peacefully, right? I would say in professional sports, but definitely football, because the egos, the money.
Especially when the player has something left. Like, why are we doing this? I thought he was.
And Russell does feel a little NBA-ish. So, like, are him and Pete going to come to a stand where someone's going to draw a line? Like, who's going to push back?
Bro, just get him to the New York Giants. If I got to watch them in primetime 3 times a year, at least have Russell Wilson at quarterback.
They do have 2 first-round picks.
And John Schneider might want Saquon.
Saquon, Daniel Jones, 3 ones. Who says no?
Well, I know the Giants say yes. What about the Raiders? I mean, the Raiders have now lost 3 in a row since the bye. That's the simple way to put it. We all know, I'm not going to repeat and go through everything else, but Gruden and Ruggs, and they've gone from in the driver's seat, not just in the AFC West, but one of the driver's seats of the AFC. Driver's seat, probably not the best way to talk about it, but they go from 5-3 to now they've lost 3 in a row, John, or 5-2, excuse me, to 5-5.
Does feel like that.
And they play Thursday night at Dallas.
I watched a decent amount of the game, 32-13. It didn't quite feel that bad.
It didn't, no.
Derek,
but it didn't feel good.
No, they were down 16-3 at one point in time. or maybe it was 16-6. Yeah, 16-6, and it just felt like, God, the Raiders were really trying for every yard. And I just thought, like, God, they are a touchdown away from their season ending, and Cincinnati ended up kicking a field goal, I think, to make it like 19-3. But it just felt like, God. And then obviously what happened, it's over, guy. I mean, they're done. But I think the sad part about them, quote unquote, being done is for a split second, even when the Gruden deal happened, it felt like, okay, maybe they have enough infrastructure here to just be a 10-win team and just kind of be a good franchise together. Now it feels like, are they a 7-10 team? And then you're blowing the thing up and starting with a new coach and firing Mike Mayock? Because that's, if you told me right now what's the most likely outcome, I would say Mark Davis fires everybody and they start over.
I think so too. Although I don't think the fact that they've lost their last 3 and they might miss the playoffs is Mike Mayock's fault. Like, to me, I'm fine with him doing that, but that has to be the evaluation of Mike wasn't totally in charge before. I don't think Mike can do the rebuild. The fact that they're not winning, and I've said this, I believe this very strongly. It did not surprise me in the slightest. You and I talked about it. The Raiders were our lock of the week after the Gruden
against Denver,
firing, or whatever you want to call it. They were our lock. We thought they'd respond. The Ruggs situation has been very different, and it did not surprise me the way they played against the Giants. I did not think they were going to look good that day, and I've said for a couple of weeks, I think it could totally derail their season. I think it has. And on top of that, for all that Rich Bisaccia brings to them, what he does not have is the ability to solve this problem, that their offense just scored 13 points. That is John Gruden's thing. What they need right now is the thing John Gruden has. Now, maybe if he wins his lawsuit, he could come back before, Christmas. But I don't think it's happening. And I think there are 2 fundamental problems going on. There is the emotional toll that I really do think the Ruggs thing is. I just see it. They don't. And obviously the element of him not being on the field. But there's also, now they need to solve problems, and I don't know who they turn to solve their problems on offense in terms of like John Gruden. This is John Gruden's thing. He did it with them.
Yeah, I mean, I went after the Niners game. I went over my buddy Fry's house, and he has this outdoor television. He was smoking this turkey, and he had the red zone on. And I look
smoking this. I was like, "Where's that going?"
Smoking this turkey. Good smoked turkey's fantastic. And they ran an end around to Deshaun. Deshaun not only is not fast as he once was, he's not as agile as he once was. He tried to make a move and got tackled. I was like, ugh. Like, he's just the drop off from the football standpoint, because like you said, they lost their play caller, so they had to transition play callers middle of the season, not because someone demoted themselves, because he got fired out of they didn't see that coming. I think John Gruden would have been in major trouble if I just would have removed Henry Ruggs from his offense. Like, that's the blow of Henry Ruggs to the offense is derailed Derek's season.
I think if Ruggs was still on this team, they'd be.
I agree.
They would not be in this position.
No, they wouldn't.
They'd overcome the Gruden thing.
But it's over. And that's like, you can't replace Henry Ruggs midseason, because it's not like you just replacing like a speed receiver, but the number 12 pick in the draft, who you felt really good about. Guy, I just watched Cincinnati, like Jamar Chase having him out there, who obviously, I mean, I kept looking up, he was making plays. His stat line today was
3 for 32.
God, it felt like, I guess, the touchdown in the corner of the end zone, but Mixon was dominant. They just had more impactful players. Like, part of having Waller and Ruggs was you had 2 guys that could be explosive, and then Renfro could do his damage. Like, today, Waller had 7 for 116, but you don't have another guy that could, even if Henry's just 4 for 80, 2 of those plays are 30-yard gains, right? So they struggle to move the football. Explosive plays. Derek's really, he's just kind of become a guy without him. And I don't know what he's supposed to do. Like, if I take any sweet wide receiver away from any team in the middle of the season, like if I just take Tyler Boyd away from Cincinnati, that would hurt there. Even if I keep Chase, like it would hurt you, right? Like, he was very, very important to him. And then, like you said, there's another emotional element. Like Josh Jacobs saying this week that he's gone over to his house multiple times. Like, that's just, he's a human being. And we said this with the moment it happened. Josh Jacobs just wasn't his teammate on the Raiders. Josh Jacobs has probably known him since like 2015. So if you know someone since 2015, if you're listening to this, there's probably not, even if you work with someone, like when you play with someone in college, and you're both offensive players, can you imagine how much time those two guys as human beings just spent with each other? Just Josh Jacobs and Henry Ruggs every day in meetings, around each other, getting yelled at by coaches, getting called into Saban's office, on the field with Tua and Mac, like just around each other.
Well, how much do you think the conversation comes up every day in the Raiders facility? Right? Just, hey, you talk to Henry? Yeah. Just that emotion.
Yeah, decent amount. Or like, hey, man, you see Henry missed his breathalyzer test and he's getting in more trouble?
Or just
it's an ongoing story.
Or how about this? What you and I would be saying, this shit's crazy. Just that. And it just, I think football's really hard to be really good at every day.
When normal things are going on.
Well, anything is like just not being focused on your task when you have a distraction is when again, like it's, I just see, John, and you've been around it, you've worked in it, you've seen it firsthand. Teams can you've been to practice. To me, I can watch a team practice and be like, oh, they got some good things going. They're not a good team, but like they got some play. And at the end of the day, I've seen it in basketball. I'm like, oh, that works. But winning games are hard, and it's a 10th place team in the Pac-12. Like it's just, I've seen it a million times where I just go, it's so the margin between winning and losing. You have to do so much winning in order to be a winning team. You have to do a lot of winning, and you have to overcome a lot of problems and mistakes and the other team scores. And 4 quarters, some teams just make 4 quarters look long. And right now the Raiders make 4 quarters look long. And that's what I mean by that is it's, if they get up 13-10 in the second quarter, but they got to have like 5 more really good drives in order to win this game. And they just cannot do it. They don't have it. They don't have the juice. They don't have the solutions. They just don't have it. And I don't know now what they do.
And I'm with you. Like I don't like if they end up going 7-10. The last couple seasons, we were very critical of Gruden and them imploding. I would not have the same, critical nature of their season. Like it would have happened to a lot of people.
Yeah, I give these players a pass. This organization, though, has stacked up a lot of crazy shit.
But like there was some internal pressure on Derek to like, can you overcome it? And he's just not. Now, it's not all his fault. Like, he's missing a player, but we were talking for a long period of time, and I think we talked about this on Friday's podcast. Like, we talked about him like a $35 million quarterback.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they still have a lot. They still have 7 games left. Like, can they somehow go 5-2? Probably not. Can they go 4-3 and have a 9-8 season, which for them would be their second winning season in 20 years? Say what you want. Like, it's who they are. They don't do that.
But if they found a way to do that, yeah, you're right. That would not be nothing at all. Now, it probably doesn't get them in the playoffs in the AFC, but okay. Like, let's just find the difference between having a great year and having a terrible year, and maybe just do that because at the end, over a 5-year window, you're just going to have a couple of those years. Can you make this year one of those years that's just kind of solid?
Agreed.
All right, so somebody had a great idea the other day. We can talk about a couple of the other games, but I want to make sure we get to this. We had a listener, and we mentioned this on the mailbag on Saturday. This guy, Joe Mazzetta, okay, hit me up with this awesome idea last Monday. So this was last Monday after the Niner Monday night game. He said, I have a fun idea regarding hair. You have listeners and followers send pictures of their hair, and then you two decide whether they should keep the hair or shave the hair. So we talked about this on the podcast on the mailbag the other day. And Austin DM'd both of us and said, you should call it Shave It or Save It. Boom. Austin Ray. John, this is one of the greatest content ideas I've ever heard.
Shave it or save it. Yeah.
Shave it or save it. We
need pictures, ideally a couple angles from the front and the top. That's the key. You got to give us multiple angles from what it looks like looking at you in the face. Like if I'm a girl and we're flirting, what it looks like straight. And then what it looks like from behind or the top. Because that
when you reach down for your wallet to pay for drinks.
Yeah. Or if I'm standing behind you in line. If I'm behind you.
We'll call it the texting.
The texting, or if I'm Draymond standing over you, like, whoa, you got some missing hairs there. So we need multiple shots, and we'll just call it Shave It or Save It. That's incredible. And, we're on both ends of the spectrum here. We have an incredible head of hair. We got a guy thinking about doing a 4-year contract for haircuts. And we got another guy who, I'm a couple days late here on a haircut. I got to shave my own myself.
Imagine if you'd sign that 4-year contract and then a year in, like, what if I start balding? 6 months into my hair.
You would never. Yeah, like you're lucky, but if you were on the fence, you would never sign that contract.
So, and I think the idea here is this is not just about this is about support. This is about letting people know, we're going to give you honest feedback, but it's all love. You are part of this community, and so we want to help. I hope we can decide on a lot of saves, John. I know for me, I'm going to have a hard time if I'm just evaluating myself. I'm going to have a hard time telling people to shave it. You know what I mean? Like
I think it depends, like on your facial hair, on your facial structure, how thick your hair is, how like, are you receding? Are you missing it? You're right. There's a lot that goes into quote unquote shave it. If you can hold on, I am a firm believer in holding on longer, or as long as you can.
Okay.
I am not someone that throws up the white flag immediately. I held on.
Yeah. You had a cocktail going, I remember.
Yeah.
Rogaine and what was the other one?
Propecia.
And that was back when you could not get the generics. You were paying, what did that cost?
I think $89 a month back pre-inflation. That was a lot of money back in like 2009.
And you were a grad assistant in front. We were living together. We were paying $450 in rent.
Yeah, this is before Amazon, so you couldn't just order 7 bottles of Rogaine for probably $20.
Did you have to chain. Did you have to get it from a
you just get Rogaine, I think, at Safeway or you can get them wherever. But the pills, I had to get it prescribed, and the insurance does not cover it. Bullshit. Man.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's a great idea. So send us a submission. We'll take this video and post it somewhere too, and we hope.
Shave it or save it.
Shave it or save it, or is it save it or shave it?
Yeah. What do you think? Whatever sounds better.
I feel like save it or shave it. Shave it or save it. I don't know. Whatever. We'll say it 2 ways. It doesn't matter.
I think shave it or save it.
Shave it or save it. Good.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing. The other reason you were not somebody. You had a great head of hair. You have loved and lost. It's not like
Gray would be strong. It wasn't yours, but it was solid.
It was thick.
It was thick.
It was luscious. So you have loved and lost. It's not like you had some, worthless.
If you're a 9 out of 10, I was probably like a 6.5.
Okay. What else we got? Hit me with some more stuff. Colts Bills. We already mentioned that. Utah crushes Oregon.
You know, Sac State's having the most incredible season in the history of the program. Destroyed UC Davis the other night. Causeway Classic.
9-2. Troy Taylor. You and I talked about this. Maybe we texted about it a week ago. Well, we were texting about it on Saturday. If Justin Wilcox leaves Cal for Washington, Troy Taylor makes perfect sense for Cal.
Yeah.
He was the coach. You know whose quarterback was at Folsom was Jake Browning's coach, and then he was like a quarterback kind of. I don't know if he coached Goff. I don't think he did, but he's like been a QB tutorer, just an all around good. Just a really. I covered him at Utah. Really good guy. Really likable guy.
Yeah. Feels like it might be. What percent chance would you say Justin Wilcox, the next coach at University of Washington? 30%?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a chance. I think
there's a chance.
Not knowing anything, I think there's a chance. This is just me talking here, no insight. Because Justin, I don't know if you saw any of his, but they beat Stanford in the big game on Saturday, kicked their butt, and it meant a lot to him. Like it means a lot to him. So I don't say that lightly, but I do think I could understand it.
I was on a text chain, and listen, I like Justin Wilcox. I don't know him personally. With a couple Cal fans, I'm like, listen, you could do this. It'd be very cold-blooded, and Cal wouldn't. But if you were in the SEC, fire Wilcox and hire this guy. It'd be risky, but this guy, offensive guy, league's going offense. And listen, Justin has tried his ass off. He's been very solid. He's a good coach. I think it might be best for everyone if he just goes to Washington and they hire this guy. Assuming this guy even wants the job. Like, would he be a lock to take the job?
I think it's his alma mater. He was a great quarterback at Cal. Yeah.
How much do you think he's making at Sac State? Probably $400,000 max.
Even that seems like it could be high.
Yeah. What would the minimum Cal pay? $2 million?
Yeah.
You can't pay under 2 at Pac-12, right?
No, maybe 2. I even think 2.5 would be the lowest. I mean, maybe it's 2.7. So
yeah,
I think it'd be.
Yeah.
You said Sac. I thought you were going to say the Sacramento Kings. Speaking of successful coaches, John, the Sacramento Kings fired the coach with the second best winning percentage in Kings history on Sunday. Rick Adelman, the best winning percentage in Kings history. And then it's Luke Walton who had I don't know what his winning percentage was.
It was like 435 or something.
He was 68 and 93. Do that math. It was the second best in team history.
I do think the highlight of his tenure was a guy sitting courtside last night who, the game was a little later, and there was good college football on right at 9. So if you had the day off, which I guess this guy did, you start drinking, have a few pops. One thing gets a little away from each other. You realize you're going to a Kings game starting at 7 o'clock. You go, I'm pretty wasted. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and you got a long way to go. Threw up. I don't know if I've ever seen this or heard of this. I saw a lot of people in my timeline that are like, I've been covering the NBA for 20 years. I've never seen this. He threw up, so he's sitting on the courtside NBA game, pukes all over the court. He's on the Jazz sideline. I guess all the Jazz players see it, freak out, and like jump to the side. Everyone, they halt the game for 15 minutes. Rudy Gobert said he looked in his eye and saw him smiling as he was puking, said he was happy. That to me symbolizes. The sad part is, and listen, the franchise is a joke. Their arena really is pretty awesome. It is. It's a badass arena. And goddamn, their team sucks.
It's one of the best arenas I've ever been to.
Their arena is badass, and their team sucks. Did you see the thing that went viral the other day of Tristan Thompson just talking shit about, which felt like Fox, Buddy, and like Bagley, just crushing guys, like basically saying, if you need a coach to tell you to try hard, like get out of this league, you losers. Tristan Thompson's telling you that? Like, goddamn. They're an embarrassment.
Shout out to our guy, Doug Christie, though. He'll fix it. That's our boy.
Well, he'll probably be the coach next year. Which
it wouldn't shock me. We'll see. Maybe Bobby Jackson's going to, Stockton Kings.
I would trade De'Aaron Fox and Buddy Hield for Ben Simmons and just try to get a reset. Hopefully hit like a little Chris Webber, lightning in a bottle.
I'm shocked that the Buddy Hield contract hasn't worked out.
Yeah, but it's a big shocker.
Tiger Woods, John, returned hitting golf balls in a video posted 10 hours ago that already has almost 6 million views on Twitter. Tiger said he's, quote, making progress.
Was that the quote above the video?
That's what he wrote, making progress, yeah.
What do you think?
Leg sleeve on his right leg.
Do you think he just throws this out there to get people buzzing, or like the way he's wired, he's going to do everything humanly possible to come back?
I think he's trying to, of course, yes. I don't have any doubt in my mind.
I heard Justin Thomas, who says he sees him once a week or whatever, with the no lane up guys a couple weeks ago. He said that I don't think Tiger would come back to shoot just to be a circus person, right? Just to be there for the hype and shoot 78, 80 every week. I do think he'll try to come back if he thinks he can make cuts. I don't know. To even say he's going to win. Can the guy compete on the PGA Tour, which he clearly could before the injury, right? But if you remember, his back had been acting up in 2020, right? So it's not like the back goes away with the leg. So now he's got to deal with the leg and then keep the back warm. Did you see the thing? Do you follow Boyd Summerhays on Instagram?
Tony's coach, yeah.
Tony's coach. He's a former PGA Tour player. His son is a true freshman going to Arizona State. Yeah. And he's a big Arizona guy. I think Boyd played at Arizona State. I think he's kind of in that little mix. It's probably over now. His story on Friday of just watching Tony Finau play John Rahm, and John Rahm is playing with his kid, who's also at Arizona State, and Tony and this other guy. It was like watching a PGA Tour event, guy. Just fucking. John Rahm lost. They combined. Tony shot 13 under. John Rahm shot 9 under. That is 21 under combined on 18 holes for these two guys. I mean, obviously John Rahm's the best player in the world. I tweeted this out, or I Instagrammed it out. Do you think I would say Tony Finau, pick up golf. Hey, just playing Olympic next week. $1,000 match. I think Tony's a top 5 pick. Just pick up golf, not that much pressure, but just come out and play for money.
That's Tony's thing.
Remember, he made it playing for money in Vegas.
Yeah. That's Tony's thing, is pick up golf.
Did you see the scorecard guy? 8 straight birdies to finish the round. Course record, Silverleaf, 59. I
didn't see that.
Hole 11 through 18, all birdies.
I watched a video a while back of him just playing with some couple people at apparently what's the hardest course in Utah. And he plays it semi-regularly. I don't think he has the course record there, but yeah, I think that's the speed. But back to Tiger for a second. I do think that I think Tiger Woods has repeatedly set goals for himself and achieved them. And I think he has one sole purpose now.
I guess my point though about that video of those guys now, again, John Ronco
is how good everybody is.
And Tony is probably, I don't even know what his world ranking is, probably top 15-ish, but it's really hard.
It is. But all it takes is, we watch enough golf when you see people, and your quote unquote average guys are fantastic. And it's hard to beat those guys. But Tony Finau and John Rahm don't go 13 under every weekend.
No, I know, but
I know you know. I'm just saying,
healthy. They're young.
But he doesn't have to win. He just has to make some cuts. I think if he makes cuts, then I think he'll have a shot. He's got to get healthy enough and good enough and enough field back to be able to play at Augusta National. That's, to me, I don't know if that's this year, but that has to be the number one goal for him. The place where he has the greatest advantage over everybody else.
I'd imagine that's what he's working back toward, right? He would like to be on the Champions Dinner. He would like to play in that. If he's at Augusta.
Because he is the defender. He has not been back since he won, right? He's not the defending champ. Or I guess he did go back.
Yeah, he handed the thing to Dustin Johnson in the fall.
Yeah. Okay. But he missed the last Champions Dinner. That's what it was.
Was he injured? Yeah, he missed this year because he was injured. No. That was the year when Dustin Johnson won, remember? He had the 12 on the par 3 where he hit in the water twice. And then he came back and birdied 6 of his last 7 holes. And, I remember it was Fred Couples, or that wasn't Fred Couples, but someone tweeted out, that's the most incredible display of composure in golf history.
Right.
He got a 12 on a par 3, and then he birdied 5 of his last 6 holes or whatever. And you start thinking about it, you're like, God damn, that guy can focus. His focus is unprecedented. So you're right. If I would even put it above Brady. It's just ability to compartmentalize. It's probably unprecedented in the world history.
I don't want to say that Brady has everybody who achieves
it's different. It's different in golf.
Adversity
right there.
But Tiger's adversity, again, Tom's had a knee injury. Tom's, we still go back to Tom drafted in the 6th round. Tiger's had some incredible, real, I shouldn't compare him to Tom and denigrate it. Just Tiger's adversity has been off the charts. A lot of it he created himself, no doubt. But, yeah.
You could argue this.
One person can win a golf event.
When you saw the aftermath of this was like the icing on the cake. And the cake was long and rich. But this one was, people were like, did this guy live?
I know. Well, it was amazing after he won the Masters. He comes back and wins at Eastlake. Then he wins the Masters. And you go, well, really part of it was what else is there? What other mountain is there for him to climb? Well, here we go.
It does feel like he's a little more private than, I guess, the Alex thing just became, and Alex had to do it. It became very public, the E60. Do you think we'll ever see the visual of Tiger's leg? Will he because he'll have to do that. He's just notoriously, his yacht was privacy.
If anybody does, it'll be Rinaldi.
Yeah, probably. But even Rinaldi's off golf now.
No, you're right.
That's one thing you mentioned. He's he sold out for the NFL.
Yeah.
He had 19 years of the Masters, so it's
do they take away his Tom shows up? Rinaldi here for a round? Sorry, sir, we don't.
No. I'd look.
I would too.
Do you think it kind of looks Alexy? Would you guess a little bit?
I don't know. Alex has had there was a whole infection, right? There was a whole.
But anyway. It could. Who knows? His leg could have been severed. It could be pretty bad.
I would look, but I wouldn't feel good about it. All right. Well, this is the beginning of Thanksgiving week. We will be back with another pod on Tuesday, with a live pod on Tuesday at a TBD time. And then we'll have another one out for the weekend. So we'll have to start talking about our lock of the week coming up on Tuesday's pod. We got to figure out what exactly we're going to do. How do we keep this going? 10 in a row for us.
I kind of like the Bills this weekend. Just
what's their number?
Well, I don't know. It's just, but at the Saints, desperate. Saints aren't that good. Bills need to win. Thursday night give you a little reason to pay attention.
Mm-hmm. That's not a bad idea. But again, the Bills. It's not like the Bills had a bad. The Bills have not been playing great football for a while now.
I looked up today. It was 38-7. I was like, I didn't want one of these. They got their ass kicked today. Ass kicked. Colts are. The final score is 41-15.
I know.
At home.
I got this DM from Keith. He said, I'm scrolling through caviar for dinner during the Steelers game. And and they have a pizza called and you have a pizza named after you at a place called Pink Onion. LOL. That's dopey. Almost as good as a Sando at Deli, but still dope. He means dopey as in like it's dope, not like it's stupid. That's right. We do have a pizza named after us at Pink Onion. We thought for a while that he'd be pulling the Jimmy Garoppolo off the menu, but it's still there. It's back. Holding on strong, John.
I would eat a slice of that right now.
Pink Onion's that much. Very good pizza. They don't pay us, but it's a good pizza, and they're awesome. And I mean, they put our name on the menu. I'm not asking for any money. It's great food. And actually, a few times I've gone. Every time I go to Pink Onion, I get hooked up. So that wasn't me complaining. That was just me saying they don't have to pay us. I'm telling you, it's good food. And the pizza. What did we do? Sausage, pepperoni, and jalapeno. I think is what we did.
I've yet to be compensated in food, but I need to swing by and support.
Yeah. Ben says early line is Bills 4.5. Well, that scares me.
Yeah, Bills are off. It sounded better when I said it out loud.
All right, we'll do a sweep of that. All right, thanks for hanging, everybody. NoKidHungry.org/ham. Let's get rolling on that and do some good here this next month and a half. All right,
let's do it, people.
Later.